Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Sketch Zone podcast.
Jack Kasperzak. Hello, my friend.
Hey, I'm Jack. I'm back. I'm the intro stealer. I'm the punches dealer because Tyrus ain't here.
I usually get job leads too, but it usually has something to do with a weed whacker or some dishes.
I design in Microsoft Excel.
Did she say she designed?
Yeah,
she said Excel. She just said that.
We were busting on PhotoShop Pro last week in Windsor, so we got Excel. We got Excel as an actual article. So we got Excel.
What other kind of software do you use? Quicken.
Charlie say Quicken? The funniest thing you ever said. I'm literally asking you for it. You know what, Charlie? You know what it is? You know what it is? You're emotional. That's what it is. You're emotional. You can't hear me talk because you're emotional. You can't hear me. I'll let you be wrong. I don't mind. I'm nice like that. I'm nice like that, Charlie.
Okay.
You all right? You
I
get a
just
little
think
emotional.
we should bring it in. I can't stand anyone on this podcast.
Well,
That never gets old.
the Sketch Zone podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Gomez, and this week we're talking to James Parris from People
Hey! Oh, wow, I get an applause track. That's awesome.
I have an audience here, James.
Welcome, James. How's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing good. And as always, we have Charlie B. Williams III.
Carlos, I feel amazing this week.
Feel
How are
amazing.
you doing? Yeah, amazing.
A job will do that to you every time.
Right? Put me on the right sleep schedule. It's great. Shut up, Tyrus. You can't even go
No, that
on the
wasn't.
show.
No,
Wow,
wait. That
no,
wasn't negative. That was a compliment. It was like you got. Hey, that was a compliment, dude. Wait a minute.
Look at that. Didn't even go a whole show.
No negativity from me tonight, buddy. Sorry. Nice try.
And we have with us Jack Kasperzak.
Tyrus, may I? Hi, guys. Hey there.
It's like Tiny Tim over there.
Anyway, moving on.
And a big fella.
Awkward.
Right out of the basement. Tyrus, Mickey, go Shay.
First of all, this is not the basement. This is my sound studio. That's the first thing. The next thing I want to say is, I, for one, feel that it's a travesty what they're doing to the Dukes of Hazzard by taking it off of. I love Baby Duke, Bo, Luke. I was born and raised on the Dukes of Hazzard. Okay, that's one exception. As a people, we need to make the Dukes of Hazzard stays on the air. I haven't watched it in 25 years, but that's not the point. Some things in life should just not be changed. Let's start this show.
You feel better now? Got that off your chest?
Oh, Tyresitos. How's everyone's week?
Fantastic.
Any good news to report? No? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start talking about before the show started, you guys wanted to talk about my current addiction.
Yeah, we need to have a little intervention.
All right. So I might have to go to, what would it be? Would it be KKK? Kickstarter?
Really? You really want to go there?
Like, right to the Confederate flag.
So that's where we're going. Okay.
I have to go to Kickstarters Anonymous. Apparently, Tyrus keeps getting alerted that every time I kick into someone's Kickstarter.
He's trying to be Elon Musk over here.
That's right. I have a giving nature. I like to see people succeed. And if I help people succeed, that helps me.
You like stuff.
Struggle.
You like stuff.
That
like,
don't help me do a damn
cooler?
thing. I just know I keep giving all my money away.
Mm-hmm. What's the cooler you bought? What is it called again?
The coolest cooler.
Is that what it's called?
Clever.
What are you gonna do with it? Blend the shake?
It really is. I got a coolest cooler. It's the cooler that you can open the top and LED lights light up the inside. There's a bottle opener attached to it. It has Bluetooth capabilities, so you can play your iPhone through it. It's got a blender built into the lid, and it comes with the blender, the base part of the blender, so you can fill it up with ice and put it there and make yourself some margaritas or mojitos.
How much?
I don't even know, dude. This was
back. I bet you don't.
That was back a little while ago.
That's the definition of an addict.
Yeah.
You don't even know.
No, that was like
You
last
don't even
year
know.
sometime.
No,
That was
you
last
don't
year
even
sometime.
know.
But let's talk about some of the latest ones that I've done.
Okay. Okay. Let's
Because
get
it'll all
current.
make
Let's get
sense.
2015.
It'll
go.
all make sense.
Let's just stick to this month.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
So
this month.
no, let's no.
It's too much.
Today, just today. Just today.
Okay, so these are my last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
You got a list of them?
My last 5. Yeah.
I don't think I've done 5 in total.
That's why you're wrong. That's why Jesus doesn't love you as much as he loves me.
Oh,
So-
there we go.
Okay.
The little kid with the black eyes is down by the. Can I come in?
Black Eyed Kids, episode number 4
Throwback.
for reference.
All right,
Show
so
number.
when I start running these off, you guys are gonna be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? Okay, so
Right.
at number 5 of the past probably couple months, Robot Envy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
They're gonna be on the show pretty soon.
Yeah.
I like their stuff. Robot Envy, Trill League.
Yeah, we had him
Is that
on.
number
Both of
4?
those, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
our
at number
boy-
4?
Our boy was there. He's at
You got him kind of low.
No, it's not. It's just like the
The order you
when
want.
it's by date, not by amount.
Okay.
Number 3 was My Extra Life comic book. For those of you that don't know, there's this guy. He's a web comic dude, and he's got podcasts and all this other stuff. He's ingrained in the web comic arena. He's finally coming out with his first book, and it's just like 10 years of all of his work collected in a book. All right, and then we got Zorfbird and Fred beanies.
Excuse me.
I have a cohort, a friend out there that I see you tweeting, Jack, and I can't read it because it's gonna. I can only imagine. Anyway,
Live tweets. Keep going.
If you guys remember, we had one of the Webcomic Alliance guys on the show. Well, one of the other Webcomic Alliance folks, she's trying to make toys of her comic book characters.
Okay.
Anyway,
These are
so
3D
that was
printed
that one. And then, hang on, the last one. Oh, the last one, you guys would be like,
It's amazing you have a list of stuff you've done in the last month.
hang on, it's called the Sketch Wallet.
I can't believe that.
Go ahead.
I don't want to down anybody else's Kickstarter, but bro, seriously.
Can't you make yourself a sketch wallet? Isn't that like an afternoon project?
It's a fine quality piece of artistic equipment. It's a wallet you can put your stuff in, but then you can have a sketchbook, and then
Yes.
Because carrying a sketchbook is just too much for a grown man. That's where we all draw the line.
The little bitty books.
you're carrying
Even
the
as an
sketchbook.
artist, I need it in my wallet. That's what's acceptable. Why don't you have a purse? I mean, you know what you need? A fanny pack at this point.
I would rock a fanny pack.
You would.
I want a
I would
utility
rock a
belt.
fanny pack.
It's story time, guys. Let me just interrupt this and tell you.
You said a utility belt.
I spent 3 days trying to find a utility belt because I kind of need a fanny pack, but I'm not wearing a fanny pack, right? So I go, there's got to be somebody out there who knows the needs that I have as a grown man who happens to be awesome, but I need to carry a lot of
Did
stuff.
you get yourself an active front pouch?
Active front.
What? That's something a pregnant woman has after she has the baby.
Thank you.
Completely different thing. But anyway, so I actually
No, that's
found.
a poopa.
Okay, I actually found I found a Batman utility belt.
You found one?
Yes, I did. I ordered it, sir. It's on its way.
What are you putting on your utility
It's got
belt? What
it's
does
got
Thomas
little
need?
it's got little cartridges, and it's just crazy. And I found a gunslinger one that kind of goes around my hip and my waist. You know what I'm saying?
You
Like,
just can't take the Marine out of the.
Yeah. And I'm the crazy one.
hey, I'm not buying it from a
Yeah.
Kickstarter. I'm having it special made. It's two
Listen to
totally different things.
You. All right. All right, Kanye.
Two
Is that
totally
why you're always tired? You're out fighting crime?
Yeah. What do you need on your utility belt? Like, what are you putting on it?
Well, all right, so during the day I work at that house where I help people who are recovering from alcohol.
Yeah.
I need my weapons there. So then, all right, when I'm playing with my kids, like it'd be nice to just whip some stuff out. Like, all right, think about this. Just picture this. Let's say I'm in the back and I'm playing with my boys, right? And they're running around and say, "Daddy, you can't catch me." And I pull out a bat net. Game over. And I throw it, like the nets they had, you throw with the little balls on it, it wraps around and they fall down, and you say something like, "Yeah, you'll never defeat me. You're Father of the Year." And so I need that. And some other things.
Just the unexpected stuff.
Right. Yeah, I want to be able to surprise people, dude. It's like, "Hey, how you doing? How are you doing?" Like, think about this. Batman once was on a helicopter and he's holding a rope. Now, just follow this. Listen to what I'm saying.
So much thought went into this.
And you know what happened? A shark jumped up and bit his leg, right? And it was trying to pull him in the water. But he happened to have the shark repellent spray, and he saved his life. That's all I got to say about that. Story over.
It is Shark Week.
It is.
Hello.
Shark
Hello.
repellent. I remember the shark repellent.
Okay.
Right, like they were surfing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because Batman was smart enough to bring his bat board.
Batman was always prepared. On a side note, like seriously, like Batman was the ultimate Boy Scout. He is always prepared, and I feel I'm always underprepared. And so this is a step in adulthood for me to get a bat utility belt.
Do you think Batman ever lined up to for frisky playtime, and he was just like, "Oh, damn! If I would have packed a condom instead of the shark repellent."
First of all, Batman Raw Dog. I know that personally.
yeah. Bruce Wayne.
He's old school.
I mean, like, come on, dude. Back.
When he was
Let me
off,
just-
he had fun.
Let me just put it this way: me and Catwoman, we've had some
Here we
conversations,
go. Here we
and
go.
I know some things about some things. And
Which Catwoman? Which version? All-time favorite.
there's only one, Eartha Kitt.
That's a kid.
You didn't like the Halle Berry one?
Come on, dog. Hey, Charlie, I told you I was going to be nice this podcast,
Yeah.
but you keep saying
Pump the
stuff like
brakes.
that.
Pump the brakes, Charlie.
Oh, hilarious.
So, yeah, that utility belt.
I can't believe
It's
you
gonna come
looked
in
for a
handy.
utility belt.
I didn't look for it. I found a utility belt, and I ordered it.
Speaking of superheroes from New York, let's talk to our guest, James Parris. You see that? That's why I get paid the big bucks.
That's why you get the money.
Yeah.
Yes.
First good segue you've done in like months.
I'm gonna use that too.
So James,
Yes.
we're gonna go way back.
Okay.
How did baby James turn into Big James? Well,
Wait. What? Whoa.
hang on, hold on.
Pump the brakes.
So one of the things. Okay, let me go back to my original question, and then we'll
ask him that off
into
air.
that one. When I was doing research on James, I saw that he did a TED talk.
Ooh.
Oh, snap.
For those of you that don't know, go to TED.com. It's basically people out there using their skills and their talents to make the world a better place. So, James, you did one of those. What was that like? What was that like? And of course, now that we're quiet, he.
Perfect timing.
Perfect time. It's that neutrality. It happens every time.
All right, well, let's talk about this bat utility belt then.
The funny part about it, you held this in all in the pre-show, like it was like, yo, I bought this belt.
I got some things on my mind tonight, bro. We gonna
So
talk.
what's the other thing you bought? But what's the other thing?
Well, so the
Around your
other one
shoulder.
is like it's not over your shoulder. It's one. The first part goes around your waist, and then the other part goes around your thigh, like gunslinger type. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
Punisher.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's only for one leg. It's not both legs.
Well, Punisher only had a sidearm on that one leg.
Yeah, he upgraded in the movies and he had it on both legs. But
Speaking of which, I was watching, what was it? Homeland yesterday.
saw it. Good movie.
And they're running through. This isn't going to spoil anything, but they're running through the hallway and they're shooting all the bad guys. Never
Facts.
reloaded once.
Why would you? Why would you reload?
I can't stand you. Shut up. Like I'll let you get away with. You're running and you're a really good shot. So pam, you don't really waste bullets.
Wait a minute.
When you don't even reload.
Okay, but what about all the movies
And now he's gone.
Yes. One by
where
one.
women are like knocking grown men? What'd you say?
All we heard was the move. Women are knocking grown men. That's all we heard.
Yeah. Well, what I said was, well, we should get upset about the movies where the women are knocking grown men out too.
You know, you've like messed me up for the rest of my life now, Tyrus, from all the many conversations of
Good.
this we've talked about. Because every time I watch a
You're
movie,
a better man. You're a better
I see
man.
something, I'm like, oh, just knock that dude out.
Mhm.
That shouldn't
All right.
Okay, so look, check this out. All right, so you guys saw that the Florida State quarterback who hit that woman in the bar
Oh,
got
my
kicked off the
gosh.
team, right?
Yeah.
All right, like, so everybody's like, oh, what, Florida State, they have just such terrible people to go there. Wait a minute. Did that chick not just punch him in the mouth? So she punches him in the mouth. He replies and punches her back, and he's the worst person in the world all of a sudden. And wait, did she not hit him? Did I see that wrong? I don't think I saw it wrong, but maybe I did.
She hit him dead in the mouth.
And this is that slippery slope where women, everyone who says you should never hit a woman.
Whoa.
No one should hit anyone.
That's right. No one should hit
No
anyone.
one should
That's right.
hit anyone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she wasn't playing for a collegiate team, representing that team, though.
No, but I mean, the
Does that
reality
make a
is,
difference?
Yes,
it's not like it's not like if somebody punches you in the mouth, Charlie, do you go, oh, I'm representing this company that I work for, I'm not going to hit him back?
No.
No, you wouldn't even think about that. If someone punched you in the mouth, your first reaction is to punch them back.
So you think he
And
would have
even before
he
he
got kicked off
that point,
Yeah.
she should have never swung.
That's
The
fine.
same way
No,
he should
I
have never
understand
swung. It doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl. Everyone wants to be treated equal. Let's
Well, that's right.
treat
He
everyone
probably would have
equal.
still been on the team.
Let's
if it was a guy.
not even the problem that a lot of people do or run into is they look at, okay, this thing happened, well then all of this stuff happened and this is what should have happened. No. That first thing should have never happened.
Yeah, but it did. So how do you respond to it, knowing you have?
Wait, but why do you say, yeah, but it did? Yeah, but it did. Like I'm saying, in any other walk of life, if a man punched you in the face, would you go, you would do, you punched me in the face. I punched you back. You wouldn't say, why is it in this case we're supposed, it's different? All of a sudden, this one situation, the rules don't apply.
No, I'm not saying the rules don't apply, because I would hope the same thing would have happened if it was a dude he punched in the face. But I don't think it would.
No, of course not. You wouldn't have got kicked off the team for punching a dude in the face in a bar fight. Of course not. I mean, football players get into fights all the time. They get into fights with each other. The response is not to kick them out of school and kick them off a football team. And so what I'm saying is, look, all right, if those are the rules, then let the rules be the rules. But don't say, in one breath, I want to be treated like a princess, and I want these special rules, but in the next breath say, I want the exact same pay, I want the exact same opportunities, I want everything a man has. You can't have it both ways. That's hypocritical.
Yeah.
I'm cool. Look, if the feminist movement says we want to be treated in this way, okay, you want equality, then I want to see you argue about going to war too. I want to see you argue about getting drafted. I want to see you say if you hit someone, you get hit back, or no one hits anybody at all. You can't pick and choose the things that when you say equality, it means equality. It doesn't mean equality on the things that I want. You get what I'm saying? So when we go...
No, I totally understand. I'm just... What can he do now?
But I think, putting labels on it is a huge mistake. It's not...
Like what, Carlos?
It shouldn't be because you're a feminist, you shouldn't get hit back. It's bigger than that. If you're a person who doesn't like to get hit, you shouldn't get hit by whoever the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, they teach you that in kindergarten. Keep your hands to yourself.
To yourself, right? Yeah.
So even before, like, if a girl hit another girl, if a dude hit another dude, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. The fact that people can't control themselves enough to keep their hands to themselves, that's the problem. It's not a male versus female thing. It's not any of that stuff. It's not white versus black. It's keep your damn hands to your damn self.
Well said. Here.
Well, I came back into something deep. I was like, hey, what happened?
Yeah. No, you
talking about the quarterback from Florida State, right?
Yeah, Florida State.
But welcome back, James.
Oh, thank you. I don't know what happened. There's like...
Okay, but Tyrus, let me play devil's advocate.
Please do.
Let's just say, okay, so say we're all gonna, unequivocally agree or not, but just say we're gonna agree and say if a woman hits the man and the man hits him back, or hits her back, can you not take into account, although you may say that that's fair in terms of the logic, how are you going to take into account the strength? Because he's not going to hit her back the same way she hit him.
Well,
we all know that's the fact. Because I've seen those videos on YouTube of the best knockouts of whatever, of people acting.
Amazing.
Yeah, but we wouldn't bring that same argument to you and I, Jack. So let's say you and I in a bar, right? If you punch me in the face, you wouldn't say, Tyrus, I want you to quantify how much energy you're going to use to hit Jack back because you're bigger than him. You wouldn't do that. You would say, Jack, if you hit that big dude, and he hits you back, you get everything you deserve for hitting him. Like, did you measure him before you hit him? No? Okay, so don't expect him to measure you when he hits you. It's common sense, right? If we walk into a bar and that happened between us, no one would say, oh, you used too much strength when you hit him back. They say, well, he hit a big dude. So the big dude hit him back. This is how the world works,
Yeah. Like, and people would say, Jack, you shouldn't have hit him.
So that's what they would say. Jack, what'd you hit that dude for?
Actually, they would say, Jack.
And Jack would say, because he's black.
Wake up. You shouldn't have hit him. That's what they would say. They would actually say, wake up, can you walk? Yeah. And then they would say, you shouldn't have hit him.
No, they would be like, Doc, I told him not to hit him. He's dead.
I would never hit Jack, just for the record. Jack is my friend.
Going back to people that are trying to make the world a better place.
Yes.
James Parris was on a TED Talk.
You're like on the segues this week. I'm impressed. Don't use them all up.
Oh boy.
Proceed.
There was a joke in there, but we're gonna try to be nice to try to.
Probably not. You just stall it. Go ahead. Let's talk about James.
Said to me. Don't use them all up. So let's talk about your TED Talk.
Sure.
Let's talk about your TED Talk. What was that experience like?
Sure, it was great. Well, actually, and to, full disclosure, it was TEDx, which is sort of like the independent arm of TED. So I think TED licenses out its brand to independent, sort of universal podcasts. Like, basically, my thing was, I think it was 2013 TEDx Youth. And so on that particular day, lots of different people spoke at the same time from different locations. And there was one theme. So the theme was, what's your spark? So it was a lot of creatives, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of guys just talking about basically what's their inspiration, what got them started, what gets them out of bed in the morning kind of thing. So I talked about, well, basically my path to being a guy who is in love with telling stories with pictures.
And that's how I was going to segue into how did you find your spark?
He's like, I'm just setting this up. You just, well, I guess I found it in New York where I was born, and what I told the kids that day was actually I can't remember the guy who actually inspired me because it was a total stranger, but I was a kid, and I distinctly remember walking past some guy in a coffee shop or something, and he was doodling. I'm sure just passing time, over his coffee. But that was the first time I actually saw someone actually making drawings, making images out of a blank paper. And, if you could go back and remember the first time you saw that happen, that was sort of witchcraft, sorcery kind of stuff. I'm like, oh man, something is coming out of nothing, and this guy's just doing it. Where is he looking? Where's that picture coming from? It's coming from him. And ever since then, I would always get the goosebumps every time I saw somebody making pictures. So, I could sit there and watch Bob Ross for 10 hours straight making happy little clouds, that kind of thing. And so, or any one of those PBS shows where they'd have they read from a storybook and then somebody's drawing while they're telling the story, and man, I would just be mesmerized. So yeah, it was a wrap from that moment. I knew that making pictures was the thing I had to do, even though I didn't know how to do it. But luckily I was in New York, so there's a lot of places where you can learn how to make better pictures in New York. So that's kind of where my path led me.
Did you ever get into graffiti?
Ooh. See, now I can admit all the stuff that I did that I couldn't admit before. But for a while, yeah, because I went to the High School of Art and Design, which is a vocational visual arts high school in Manhattan. And that particular high school definitely, there was a big graffiti artist demographic in that school. So, and for the first time, I was among fellow artists from Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island. And when you get just random artists from any of the 5 boroughs, you're going to get graffiti artists. And so, yeah, I like to think the people I ran with, we weren't just running around writing our names on the side of a building. We were painters, Nice. And one of the things I realize now that I go back and I see where my career's taken me, the desire to go to a handball court and do this whole panorama of whatever we wanted to do on a handball court is really no different than what I'm doing now as a filmmaker. It's just the fact that I wanted a lot of people to see my work on a big screen. And back when you're poor in the middle of, a city and you don't have access to legitimate big screens, you use whatever screen you got. And at that time, the screen was a handball court.
What part
James, can you tell us?
Go ahead. Sorry, Cyrus.
What were you saying, Cyrus?
No. I'm going to let Charlie go. Go ahead, Charlie.
So that means Charlie, go.
Yes, I know. I pulled my mic out. I just want to know what part of New York you grew up in, because you said.
Oh yeah. I was born in
all the different boroughs, so I just want to know.
No. Queens actually was where I was born. I lived in a few places, but I got my start in Hollis, Queens, as a matter of fact. And as a matter of fact, I used to, a lot of the cats who made Hollis, Queens famous, I used to see on a regular basis. There was a park not too far from where I grew up where, if you played on the right day, you could catch run, shooting a little hoop. And I used to ride the bus with LL way back in the day, and so way back in the day when the original Kango, So a lot of cats came from my hood, as you know, Nas, Tribe Called Quest, blah 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 blah. So there's a lot of cats who come from my Mecca, Queens, and but after high school, I moved to Harlem. I moved uptown, so then I was an uptown cat after that. And then when I first started my legitimate animation career, that was with the Walt Disney Studio. I moved from New York to Orlando, Florida, because at the time Disney was doing that whole multi-studio thing, and so I was at their Florida studio, but we were all working on the same movies. We were just exchanging, stuff over remote locations.
Roughly.
So James, I was going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about what you do now and what you've done. I don't think we said that when we brought you in, so.
Oh, sure, yeah.
About that.
Yeah. Like right now, I pretty much split my time between 2 identities, and it's kind of like the Bruce Wayne and the Batman. The Bruce Wayne side is sort of like the animation, visual effects side, and that's I've got 20 years of experience in character animation, both traditional and computer generated. But the Batman side is the live action film director side, and so I'm trying to build my street cred as a director. I have several feature films that I'm trying to develop and get funded as well, primarily sci-fi, fantasy, and thriller features. So I have an independent. Go ahead. What were you saying?
So when you say get funded, you mean you're going to have a Kickstarter for Carlos to donate to pretty soon?
He'll fund
I got you, James.
He'll fund it.
You got a couple
I'm
million?
funded by my damn self. Look at, I'm scratching. I'm waiting.
You got a couple of million. We should talk after this podcast. Definitely. I've got something I can pitch to you real quick.
Dude, I got something to pitch to you.
Pause. Pause. Pause.
You guys are disgusting. I was gonna bring up your work.
Wow.
So folks can see. This is James's
Oh.
character reel. Let's see if we can.
Yeah.
Get
So
this big
before we get into like the film stuff, we don't get too many traditional animation folks. So talk a little bit about your history with 2D traditional work.
Sure. Well, that was the way I learned the principles of animation first. When you're interning at the Walt Disney Shop, one of the things I really appreciate about those days, and you got to remember, when I interned with Disney, this is in the summer of 1990. So the film in production at the time was The Rescuers Down Under. I know nobody probably saw that, but that was around the time I was learning. So it was about a 3-month internship, and you learn the basics of what makes character animation work in terms of the principles. You have to know physics as well as acting. So the physics come first, overlapping action, squash and stretch, and anticipation and all that stuff. But then there's just the mechanics of how do you draw on multiple sheets of paper at the same time? How do you flip so that you kind of give yourself, the illusion that drawing 1 is going to drawing 3, which is going to drawing 5, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have to keep shooting everything on a down shooter, one drawing at a time, and then time it out on a very primitive computer at the time. And so that's how we did our rendering, to see if our pencil test would work. You just hook up a down shooter to your drawings and put them on a pegboard, and that whole thing. So luckily, I already was in school for illustration at the time, so figure drawing was the big deal. Disney was looking for people with strong figure drawing ability to draw life, not to draw cartoony, but to draw realistically. Once they knew you could draw realistically, then they teach you how to draw in the style of whatever film they were doing. So the first film I actually worked on start to finish was The Lion King. So that was I popped my cherry on The Lion King. And that became sort of like the first in several Disney animated features I worked on. The last one I touched was Tarzan in '99.
Wow, that's...
What's the difference between working on a 3D animated film and a 2D animated film?
Oh boy. Well, time is a big. I mean, once I found out that you could look at a first pass of animation without having to stand with a camera for an hour shooting a drawing at a time. Once I figured that out, I didn't want to go back. So I got lucky, actually. My first introduction, my education on Maya, which is the 3D animation software that most people use, was actually on a show. It was actually on the first Spider-Man over at Sony ImageWorks. And so Spider-Man 1 was my intro. They kind of threw me in. They said, well, we know you can animate with a pencil, so we'll give you a couple months, and if you can't pick up the computer, then you're done. So luckily I swam instead of sank. But what I love most about 3D is the speed. You can immediately rough out a pass of animation. Let's see if this works. And in a few seconds, you can have a QuickTime movie playing, showing you your idea, instead of maybe 45 minutes of shooting drawing after drawing after drawing after drawing after drawing just to see if it works or not. So you can stay in the flow, stay in the moment. You can just keep set some keyframes, hit play blast or hit render, and then see it very, very immediately. So I love the speed, and the best thing about working digital as opposed to traditional is undo. Undo is awesome. If I could go back time and put undo on a pencil, that would be, only undo on a pencil is erase that whole pose and redraw it. But the idea that you could save different versions of an idea and go back to compare two against each other. Oh yeah, to me that's just like golden. It just helps the creative process.
Do you use the Wacom Cintiqs?
I use those mostly for just my own, like for drawing and illustration of my own. Whenever I like storyboard for my own projects and stuff like that, I'll use the Cintiq. But for actual animation, when I'm working in Maya, I just use a mouse and regular screen. Yeah.
And I bring up the Cintiq because you were talking about the undo. You draw on the Cintiq. You can. I have the top button on the side as my undo, so I'll draw something and I can undo it real fast.
Oh, so you can just go click, 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 click.
But then I have the mechanical pencil, and I'm drawing on paper, and I always make the lead come out because I'm trying to undo.
You're right. You're just clicking the lead out. No, the only trigger I got is Control Z or Command Z or whatever for, undo, because I'm constantly undoing or save. Like in Maya, I don't know, Jack, if you do the same thing, are you constantly saving every 2 seconds?
Yeah, not that often, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm always paranoid about like the crashing, like something crashing, and so I make one decision, save, one decision, save, one decision, save.
Dude takes the save early, save often to new meaning.
Oh yeah.
So how many versions of files you have on your computer at this point?
I did one job where there was one piece of like simple animation. Actually, I think it's on my reel. It was like one of those snakes on a plane shots, and I did like 70 different versions of the same shot. And then by the time they made the decision of but they had to go back to like version 40 or something like that. And luckily, I had it saved incrementally. So I'm like, oh yeah, version 40, here you go.
Yep. That is not that uncommon.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We just finished looking at your animation reel. I'm gonna play one of the commercials that you were director for.
Oh, okay.
So if you're listening to the podcast on the audio version, sorry. We'll put the link to all of his work on the show notes and everything, so you can visit his work. Sure. You thought Jack's demo reel was good. Yeah.
Dude, did you just slam Jack on our podcast?
I did.
Are you kidding me?
Man.
I did.
Hey, Jack, this guy's a GoBot. You're a Transformer. Don't lose
a GoBot.
So what are the major differences between a day as an animator and a day as a director?
Oh, well, that's definitely a big distinction. Like basically, living your life as part of a visual effects crew, you are part of an assembly line basically, and that assembly line is a very fixed quantity. You know when you come in, you're going to get, like, for example, if you're an animator, you're going to get a shot handed to you that's got a puppet basically rigged up and ready for you to manipulate, and there's certain things you can count on, and that's when visual effects works well. It works like an assembly line in a factory, so that there's very little questioning of what I do next. You get the thing. It's like putting bumpers on Buicks. You know what I mean? You do your part, you hand it to the next guy. Do your part, hand it to the next guy. So the modeler gives it to the rigger, who gives it to the animator, who gives it to the lighter, who gives it to the compositor, who gives it to the editor. And any time that breaks, then it slows everything up. But so as an animator, you want to get into the zone. You go into work and you zone. You put your headphones on. You do whatever. You get your bagel. You do whatever it takes to zone out. But you go into a routine, and that's your strength, routine. As a director, it's the exact opposite of routine. It's prepare for any shit to go wrong at any given point of the day, and you're never in one place, and you're never thinking about only one thing. You have to have the entire crew and the entire day's schedule in your head pretty much all day long, and you got to make your day. You got to get your shots, but at the same time, actors need to be motivated. Something's going to go wrong, something's going to break. The audio guy's going to have a problem with the fact that there's air conditioning in this room and it's getting in the way of the audio, so we're going to have to turn the air conditioning off for a while, get the shots, turn the air conditioning back on, or whatever. The location manager might have not told the neighbors that you're going to be shooting something, so you got to go, tell a neighbor, hey, sorry about that, but we won't take that long. Sorry that the light is shining through your window, whatever the case may be. So as a director, you have to keep all the moving parts in your head and know that everybody on set wants you to motivate them. Everybody wants to look at you and feel like they're looking at Captain Kirk on the Enterprise, looking at Chris Pine, and you know,
Shatner.
they want Shatner. Actually, they want the original Shatner.
I hardly knew her.
Wow, that was not even. That's not even cricket. That's.
Wow. You just sound guy doesn't even know what to play.
The womp womp.
It just makes a sound. It's awesome.
But I gotta say, actually, I love the directing because of that. Like, you don't get bored at all when you're, it's the pressure is there. Of course, it's not for. I think directing is more suitable for extrovert types because they usually try to get up and make everybody feel excited about what you're doing. In visual effects, you really don't have to worry about being an A personality, all the time. You can just pretty much zone everybody out as VFX. You can come to work pissed at the world and still do a great job in VFX. If you're a director and you come to work pissed at the world, you're not going to get a good result.
And which one do you like better? Is this always the end goal, to become a director?
Actually, it's funny. I only started realizing that was what I wanted most in the last, I'm going to say, maybe last 10 years or so. I guess the whole thing, my whole lifeline, if you like, from the moment I first saw the guy drawing till now, it's really all been the same thing. It's just the tools have been changing. I want to make pictures and I want to tell stories with those pictures, so I want those pictures to make other people feel like I always feel when I'm taken away by a story. But the only tools I had access to at the time was a crayon, and then I got like a better quality pencil, then I got some markers, and then I got some spray cans, and that was kind of cool. And then, eventually get... Yeah, then somebody said, hey, here's a pegboard, and then you can flip all these papers out one after the other. Yeah, and then somebody said, hey, here's a computer program, and you can get these virtual puppets and move them. I'm like, oh, wow, that's like next level. And then somebody's like, you know what? You can put actors in front of a camera and record that too. All of it is making pictures, and all of it is telling stories. So now it's like I'll mix them all together. Like I love, you've seen Kill Bill, right? Quentin Tarantino goes into an animated scene just because he wants to. Yeah. Why not?
Control all of it now. Throw some spray cans in there if you want.
Exactly right. And I'm really fortunate. I feel good that I can speak the languages of all those different things. So I can speak the language of the storyboard guy. I can speak the language of the director of photography. But I can also speak the language of the animation crew. If need be, I can speak the language of the graffiti guy if we need one, or whatever the case may be. And so now that I mention that, I have to do something with graffiti in it, just as an old.
You have to. Yeah.
Or you can make Escape from New York too.
It's funny. Like there's one of the projects that I'm developing as potentially as an animated digital series. The way we're describing the main character, he's a toy. He's like a plush toy, like a stuffed bunny. But we're describing him as a Snake Plissken bunny. And so imagine Snake Plissken, but he's like an old bunny with a patch. And so anyway, it's funny you mentioned Escape.
So everyone understands basically what goes into an animation demo reel. Does a director have a demo reel, and what does it look like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much, like, I'm in the process of building my directing reel. I'm where I am, like, where I was in in animation, probably, like, in, the year 2001 is where I'm at with directing now. So, I was, if you were a senior in high school then, I'm a freshman in college. So, of course, the guys I'm chasing now as a director are the guys I look up to, who I idolize. Of course, you have the demigods like Spielberg and those cats, But you have even the guys who are not Spielberg, but yet they're still people I want to be when I grow up, like J.J. Abrams and Joss Whedon and Christopher Nolan and, Darren Aronofsky and Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino and Spike Lee, Spike Jonze, Spike anybody.
Spike Punch.
So, like, all those cats are like, I just get off watching their work. And what I love about, like, there's some guys who like love to rip on like what directors do and point out all the flaws. For me, whenever I go to see anybody's film, the first time I make a deal with myself. The first time I watch any movie, I have to watch it like a child. Like I just come to it with my thing of popcorn and I just get lost. And I give myself a chance to enjoy it the way the filmmaker designed for me to enjoy it, just accepting the story. And then I'll go and watch it again. And then I'll watch it again like a student. Then I'll start looking at, this is what he did, this is what, like, oh, do I like that? Or maybe I would have done that differently, or, you know. But if I loved it the first time, the second time I go, I have to ask myself, okay, now why did I love it? Let me look behind the curtain at his technique and figure out how he manipulated me into loving his movie. And then hopefully I'll learn the tricks, you know. And that's pretty much all it is right now. Is like you know, the more you learn the tricks, the more you can apply them to short pieces. And when you make short pieces, those become part of your directing reels. So like right now, I'm in post-production on a short piece that I've been working on for a while, which is a little a PSA-style short film that's half live action, half animated. It's called Pink and Blue, and it stars the voices of Daryl Hannah, Michael Madsen, LeVar Burton, and Yvette Nicole Brown. And it's about basically gender and toys, and how toys can be segregated by gender based on what we buy for boys, what we buy for girls. So it takes place in a fictitious house where the boys' toys and the girls' toys are living in sort of a state of apartheid, and they can't mix together. And of course, it's going to be on the one day where one toy from one side of the tracks meets a toy from the other side of the tracks. And of course, you know, they're going to realize that, hey, why can't pink and blue toys play together? You know. And Nelson Mandela will show up, you know. Oh, and you just this is great. I want to carry you around so every time I'm talking about something, just like, you know, stuff just pops up.
Hey,
oh, that's my pitch video when I was initially. Speaking of Kickstarter, by the way, when I first shot just the live action part of Pink and Blue, I did a Kickstarter fundraiser just to cover the live action costs, and actually we successfully raised $10K for that. But you probably don't want to play that entire video because it's just me running my mouth for like minutes and minutes.
Yeah, and we got you for a couple hours already.
But I sent you another link. There is a link to an actual mini sizzle that actually has like just actual shots from it. Its password is gender. I think you got it in your email.
Yeah.
And
I'll check right now.
And so that's just got a couple. You can see a few of the images from what we're working on in progress. But it's fun because I went to the actors and they were really gracious enough to say, oh yeah, you know, it sounds like a cool message to put out in a fun little piece. And they just, for free, they just lent their voices. And I just geeked out every time. I'm sitting here with Daryl Hannah. I'm sitting here with Pris from Blade Runner, you know, voicing a Barbie doll. And then the narrator was LeVar Burton. So, I'm sitting here. Oh my God, this is Kunta Kinte.
Yeah. Speaking of LeVar Burton, I also kicked in for bringing back
Reading Rainbow.
Rainbow shirt wearing.
Yeah, he wore the shirt and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an app now, so you can get that on. You can have that app on your phone.
What was the password?
Gender. Gender.
You hear that, all those listeners?
Everybody?
Write that down.
Right.
Hey, don't worry about it, James. This is just between us.
Yeah. We won't tell anyone.
And our one listener.
So initially when James started talking, I'm like, oh, TED Talks, this dude is big time. This dude's awesome. Then he goes, it's TED Talks Plus or TED Talks X. And I'm like, this guy's a GoBot. He's not a transformer. And then he keeps talking, and I'm like, holy crap, this guy might be Optimus. So we have to wait until the end of the show to find out which transformer you might be, my friend. You're doing some pretty good things. We're impressed over here at Sketch Zone.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm definitely not Optimus yet. The guys I'm chasing, those are the real. I consider myself Ultra Magnus.
Oh, nice.
Let me just say you're giving yourself too much credit.
Go. You're talking to the transformer.
The nerve of you, sir. The nerve of you.
Okay. I'll take jazz. I'll take jazz.
Yes. You could be those two black ones that were like talking like jive in the movies. You could be one of those guys.
And Tyrus could be the other.
Yes.
It'd be perfect.
Your mother could be the other one.
She tried out for it. She did try out for it.
She tried out for a lot of things.
Your mom beat her to it.
Your mom tried out for a lot of things. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Stay tuned.
She told me she saw your mom there.
Hey, Jack, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay.
That wasn't it.
That deserved crickets.
But anyway, but thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, so listen, James. Listen, let me put in this request for the whole team. Right now, you have 5,000 friends. They don't love you like we love you, so we need you to get rid of 4.
Oh,
right?
done. Consider it done.
Right. We need to be at it, bro. I don't know what's going on over there, but they don't love you like they're supposed to.
Jack's already on, right? Jack, we're connected. You're talking about
what, on Facebook?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How did Jack get in before us?
I must have been 5,000.
How do you think James got on the show?
Yeah, Jack.
Oh.
Jack.
Oh.
Yeah, this is like 6 degrees of digital domain. That's how it works.
Very impressive, Jack.
I started under the wire.
What show were you on, Jack, when I first met you? Do you remember?
I know.
What were you? Well, no, I don't know if he was there. Were you there in 05, 06, early 06?
Yeah, well, see, it's like me and Dee Dee were like, I was always in and out in it. Like, the first thing I ever did a digital domain was iRobot.
Well, after that, it would have been after that.
Okay, so
Check
what
his
about
IMDb.
Mummy 3? Or maybe it was around that time?
Yeah, I was on that with you.
Okay, so it was maybe Mummy 3 right
before that.
Oh, My Super Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh, you were on that.
Yes.
Are you two showing off right now? Is that what this is?
Right.
I didn't think you were on.
I worked on Jesus Christ Superstar.
I wish. I wish.
Continue. Let me get out of the way. Continue to stroke each other. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. While you guys were struggling with My Super Ex-Girlfriend, I was building a website for Walker, Texas Ranger. Take that. Take that. Yeah, we can throw some names around too.
Hey, what was that? 2004. All those Happy Meal toys. Me, dog.
Yes.
Right
hey,
right here.
Meal's no joke.
But actually, Jack,
I know.
We didn't really get to talk until these figure drawing classes at night when we would do the figure drawing.
Right.
Yeah, that was actually the most fun. Was
yeah,
just
they
doing...
instituted the figure drawings, and James kind of spearheaded that, and that was good for a lot for to kind of.
Yeah, it was like Fight Club. Just without the fight part. But it was just no instruction, just guys who love to draw, and we spent all day on computers, so you might as well get together and actually go back to our real love and draw at night, and that was great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you say something about a fight? Story time.
Yeah, if Fight Club had a bunch of sketchy nerds, that would be Fight Club.
Oh, I thought you guys had a Fight Club where you sketch. What a letdown.
First rule of figure drawing: we don't talk about figure drawing.
And the cover of the movie box, instead of a soap, it's like a pink pearl eraser.
Oh, like the eraser little.
See that?
Or the little very needed ones.
little eraser shavings on the side. Tyrus hates brilliance. Hey.
No, you know what I hate right now? I hate Jack. I hate Jack that he's not holding you accountable for anything tonight. That's what I hate.
I'm tired of you. You need to go take a nap. You're sassy today.
Speaking of sassy,
James.
Use that as a segue.
James.
Yes. Oh, sassy. Oh.
I don't know, Donald Trump, something.
So you did. Did you do any professional work when you were in LA, or were you just in school? Or not LA, sorry, New York. Did you just go to school in New York?
Yeah, I went to school in New York, and I did a little freelancing as an illustrator first. But and I was I was like very, very young when I was doing that, so I was just getting little bottom feeder gigs, little spot illustrations here and there, little black and white stuff. This is, I am probably like the last generation to go through the whole art school thing pre-Photoshop. So everything was still straight up analog, the whole time. I even had to take, typography classes, remember with the freaking, you got to do the alphabets in every font by hand, kind of thing. And now I look back and I'm like, really? Photoshop couldn't have come along a little earlier, you know?
I was right at the cusp of that. It was like when computers were starting, like Photoshop 2.
Oh, okay. So you had at least access to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're still doing the literally cutting and pasting and all that stuff.
Yes. Those were the entry-level jobs that we were going to be thinking about getting back when I was still in school.
Yeah.
Doing the pay stubs.
What was funny was one of the freelance jobs that I had when I was still going to school was working for the Spanish TV guide in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And they had a light table and the cutting boards and everything on one side, but then they're trying to get into the digital age, which is why they brought me on. But they were doing their layout in Corel Draw.
Wow, that's way back. Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, haven't you heard of Quark?
Ooh, Quark, right? But,
yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't go back and trade that because you can't. What's the word I'm looking for? Hand-eye coordination is still hand-eye coordination, and everything that I had to learn how to do is still control in my hand, no matter what it was. So every time I had to do another alphabet in Bodoni bold or whatever, you know, it just taught me more control.
What this conversation kind of comes up from time to time on the podcast when we're talking to different people from different areas. What do you think are some of the big differences from working in Orlando versus working in Los Angeles?
Working in Orlando and LA. Well, let's see. Well, when I was actually, when I was at the Disney studio, of course, if you're working in a big studio like that that's already got a corporate parent, it doesn't matter where you are, you're still getting paid out of the same place, and it's still the same corporate culture. So Disney culture is Disney culture, you know. But in terms of when you're not at work, well, the biggest difference is Florida is a different state altogether, you know, and I'm a New Yorker, so me being in New York going to Florida is definitely different from New Yorker going to LA, because there's a lot more in common New York has with Los Angeles than New York has with Orlando, Florida. Number one, it's below the Mason-Dixon line, so it was the first time I saw Confederate flags outside of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Look at that! Bring them all together, just like that.
I was trying, like, how can we get Confederate flags?
Give him an award.
This guy's good.
I was like, we need to get Disney, Dukes of Hazzard, and Confederate flags in one thought. I got it.
Same sentence, a bunch of commas.
A bunch of commas. But it was the first time I saw Confederate flags. That's the truth. And so I got a lot more education going below the Mason-Dixon for the first time than I ever would have had if I had stayed in New York the whole time. So, first time being profiled by the sheriff. a lot of firsts for me, actually.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with like the job or anything like that, but it was good education nonetheless. So yeah.
And you can't really blame that on Florida either, because I was back home when I got home from the Army. We moved to my family moved to the suburbs, and it was probably like a week or two after moving to the suburbs, I kept getting pulled over, and finally one of the cops pulls me over. He looks at my license. It still said Chicago on it, and he said, "Ain't you a little far from home, boy?"
Ooh, yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
And by home he meant Cuba.
Yes. Right? And there's no right answer to any of these questions. You just, like, that's one thing they had to really like nail into my skull before I left New York is like, don't run your big ass mouth when you're down there, because your mouth will get you in trouble, you know. And yeah, there are a lot of tongue biting incidents where I'm just like, shut up, just walk
get out of this. It makes for a good story. Just get out of this.
Right, totally. But I get it. You know, I saw the first time I saw like a lot of bumper stickers like, "Hey, we don't care how they do it up in New York," or "We don't, the Civil War is not over, South will rise again," blah blah blah. You know, and I realized, okay, obviously these are just people who haven't been given the right information to move forward into the 21st century, and I got to do what Dr. King would have advised, which is,
Take a breath.
Maintain a spirit of brotherhood and education, which I try to do actually. Because Jack, you can vouch. I try to on social media maintain a spirit of let's all educate each other and figure out how to get along in this world, kind of thing. Which I think artists are better prepped to do than most.
And we talk about that whole social media thing quite a bit on this show. Just the mismanagement of people's online personalities. And it's just really weird how quickly you can get wrapped up in something. For example, this week, not Photoshop, but Adobe announced that they bought Mixamo, which is a 3D modeling software that they're going to incorporate into Photoshop. And I put on Twitter, my God, Photoshop is getting even bigger. And then some dude retaliated with, well, Photoshop is a Swiss Army knife of creativity, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, yeah, but if I need a screwdriver, I want to reach for a screwdriver. I don't want to reach for a big mongoloid thing that has a spoon, a blowtorch, a toothpick, a shoehorn.
You say that until you go camping and you need a shoehorn.
Yeah. You know what? Hang on, I got something for you. We're gonna move forward, but I can't. So anyway, yeah, this guy was like, "Oh, it's a Swiss Army knife of creativity," and I get that, but sometimes you just need a screwdriver. And sometimes you just need a blowtorch. At what point are they going to anyway? So remind me to talk about that. At what point is Photoshop going to be too big? But before that, so then he came back and said that, and I said, well, yes, but what if I'm just a photographer? He said, well, photographers, and he was sending me links. Oh, here's a bunch of photographers that use 3D, and I'm like, yes, but what if I don't want to do 3D? Like, do I have to bring a gun to a knife fight? Do I have to? And so this whole conversation, and come to find out, I think the guy is associated to Mixamo some way, shape, or form. So I think he was just trying to ease people's
he was
minds.
trying to get the door.
He's trying to ease people's minds, like, oh no, Adobe, you really did do a really good thing by buying us up and all this other stuff. I have no idea what his motive was, but it turned into a thing, for no reason, no good reason at all. It's just, I can't say Photoshop is getting too big without pissing someone off.
Well,
yeah, but
weird. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. I'm gonna take this in a very comic book geeky direction as a bad metaphor, but I don't know if you guys read any of the Iron Man comics, the Marvel, the actual comics. But in the comic book, the Iron Man suit does a lot of stuff. It is very much like a Swiss Army knife kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. It's a Swiss Army knife of exoskeletons, right? And recently, though, in the comic, Tony Stark decided he doesn't want to carry all that heavy, everything in one suit anymore. So now, for each mission, he does it a la carte. He's got one suit that's just all about stealth. He's got one suit that's just about, missiles. Mm-hmm. And so now he has to pick which suit he wants to wear depending on what job he's got to do. And I guess that makes him lighter. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's always perfectly appropriately picked, right?
Yeah.
You never need something that he left at home.
Knowing how comics are, they're gonna make it where he has to use a suit in a different
let me
way.
direct you back to Tyrus's shark repellent comment.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So in other words, it's better to have the original Iron Man suit with everything in it than to have piecemeal.
But voila. Yeah, well, so look, let's talk about Photoshop really quick. Because Carlos, I would agree with Carlos, and I remember when Photoshop took over Flash, right? And then Premiere, and all of a sudden all of these programs were under the banner of Adobe. But now, when we have the Creative Suite, everything you ever need, for the most part, is in that suite. So it actually works out for us. And Photoshop, or Adobe, when I say Photoshop, I mean Adobe, but they've been trying to get into the 3D field for a long time. You know, they've incorporated, I think it was like 4 years ago they had it where you can bring OBJs into Photoshop, and it didn't work very well. It's still kind of, you know, choppy, but they're trying, and so this is a big leap to get into the 3D world. Now, I think it's good for consumers because now it's so Mixamo has a rigging, it's a rigging software where you can go in and make your own characters, rig the characters, animate the characters, and then pay for it, and then you get the character and you put it in your game. Well, with Photoshop, you would have that. You wouldn't have to pay for it. It just comes with it. So for a person like any of us, actually, so if you wanted to say, I want to create a film, well, now you have those 3D actors at your disposal. So I think it helps us more than it hurts us. Like James, for example, if you wanted to do a short film and you didn't want to have to hire a bunch of people, you don't want to have modelers, you could download this suite through Adobe, use the characters, whip it out, come up with something creative, and then you can say, hey, here's my prototype, now can I get a team for it? I don't know. I just think it's a good thing. And if you don't want to use it, if you're a photographer, you simply just set it up. You know, you go in, you take your menu, get rid of the things you don't want, keep the things you do, and that's it. And
it's actually a really good animation software in terms of rigging. They have a really good auto rigger. The animator at the job I'm at now, they use it because their rigging software is really good, where they can take a character or take one of our existing characters and they put an auto rig to it, and it does IK and FK, and it does it really, really well. So
okay.
On the
so
photo,
it's actually,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, so it's fairly Maya-esque in terms of just.
Yeah, and it works with. Okay. And the rig then works in Maya because he uses Maya at work. Yeah. On the website here, in the press release, they're talking about, they have a little GIF that's showing an example of where they've taken the characters and then composite them against the background, and the two characters like shaking hands, and they're talking about how using Photoshop CC to composite and rig and animate characters from Mixamo onto an image. So I'm thinking, you know, kind of like when Autodesk buys a bunch of different companies, Carlos. I think Photoshop did the same thing, where I think it'll still be a standalone, but we'll use some of that technology to be able to integrate it into Photoshop, similar to what they do with like After Effects, when you guys can use all the different Creative Cloud stuff in different programs and stuff like that. I think Mixamo is going to have like a file format that will be able to transfer over and be able to work with the Creative Cloud application.
That makes sense, because I really like the way they've integrated everything, where you can do all of your audio in Audition, but then you link that file to Premiere, and the same file has videos that you're doing motion graphics on in After Effects, and then all of that is linked to Illustrator and Photoshop. The way they're linking everything together is beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what they're saying they're going to do here.
I mean,
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the plan is. I actually started to look into it. Like I told you, I want to be a part-time evangelist for it, so I have to learn everything about it. But I like what Adobe's doing as far as what we're talking about, how it's one package that allows you to do 17 different things strictly through the Creative Cloud. And I think, what do we pay, like $20 a month? I don't know. I mean,
this would be great for like After Effects, right? Too, right?
Oh yeah, that'll go. You'll be able to take it right into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it would almost be a better fit for After Effects than for Photoshop, right?
Right.
If it's,
yeah.
Right.
I can see them talking, because like I think you can do that now. I mean, there's a project at the work that they're using it now with Maya and After Effects and a bunch of stuff, but they're just using the Mixamo standalone program. So if it keeps them in business with good companies like that, then I'm all for it, as long as they don't get phased out like Softimage did. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and you think about it, if you think about After
Softimage.
Yeah.
After Effects is all around. After Effects has always, in the last couple of years, has implemented the 3D aspects into its program already, and Cinema 4D and all of these things. And so, and we all know, I mean, if you're using it, it's better. It's cool that Cinema 4D ports directly to, and vice versa. Now you have 3D and After Effects where you can take your panel and pretty much move it. It just becomes a more effective tool than having to use 4 different tools for the same thing, which is what we had to do in the early 2000s. We were using, like, you know, if you wanted to do a project, you had to have like 5 or 6 programs, you know. And so now it's eliminating that, where you get 2, maybe 3, maybe 1. It depends on what you're doing. You can go in and do everything. For me, I think it's the way to go. I think it's a money saver, even with the cloud subscription, where you're paying $20 or $30, whatever you pay a month for it, instead of paying $2,000 to $3,000 for Maya. I mean, everybody was still in software, right? Because who had $3,000 to shill out at Maya or Photoshop or whatever? No one had the money, and I think we all pretty much wanted to do it the right way. We just couldn't afford it. And then they said, hey, you know, maybe we should stop charging people an arm and a leg for it and let them pay where they can afford it. And guess what? Most of us are all legal on the Creative Cloud.
And to their credit, and to Autodesk credit, they kind of started that during the recession. Because remember, they gave every unemployed artist a license for like 3 years. You know, so you didn't have to. Yeah, that was like back in when did the recession hit? Like
08.
08, yeah, 08, yeah. Like it wasn't a student license, because a lot of times artists are saying, well, I'm not in school anymore, but I can't use your program, so I can't get a student version. So they gave you a special.
Yep.
So like where'd you last work, or whatever, you got it. And it helped a lot of artists through that rough period. So and after that, everybody started doing subscription stuff, and I think Autodesk was like, hey, we should just keep giving this away, kind of.
So I remember when this was probably last year, before I updated the hard drive on my laptop. I would launch Photoshop, and it would take, I would say, close to a minute to launch. I changed my hard drive to solid state, and then now it just absolutely flies.
I have to make that switch finally. I've been.
You got to, Charlie.
I've been dreading it, man. I've been dreading
the difference.
You have to. It's a whole new world. Programs come up like that, man.
But don't you have to really be vigilant about what you're installing on it, because you can kind of wear it out, or was that the very first ones?
Well, you just don't want to run out of room. They're expensive, so most people have a 250. So you don't want to have like 1,000 programs on it that you don't ever use. But what you do is you have a backup hard drive that's a terabyte of junk hard drive, and you put the crap that you're just testing out on that one, and then the things you use every day you put on the SATA drive. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, we have them at work now. I'm like, it's like, before I even leave the room, it's like, before I even get up, my computer's like up, and I'm like, whoa.
Like what happened?
Yeah, because you get used to doing stuff while it's logging in and stuff. And
exactly, yeah.
So hey, let's do this. Let's do this, though. I want to hear James' take on the politics that are happening today. How's that for a segue, Carlos?
Oh.
Actually, here's the segue. So after my conversation with this guy on Twitter, I happened to notice that Donald Trump and a comedy writer from Modern Family by the name of Danny Zucker had gone up. See, that's how you segue.
Wow. You don't. You're trying to school you right now.
That's how.
No, but
magic.
It doesn't count as a segue when you go back to what you were talking about.
Yeah, there it is, Jack.
Tell him, Jack.
Yeah.
Tell him.
It is a segue because we just got done talking about Twitter conversations. Now, going back to the conversation about Twitter conversations, Donald Trump and a comedy writer for the show Modern Family, his name is Danny Zucker. They went back and forth, and
epic battle,
and it was wonderful. Danny was on Donald's ass.
Cool.
It was pretty good. It was pretty entertaining.
Those of you guys that haven't heard, Donald Trump is just all kinds of retard.
He's running for president, right? He's running for president, right?
He sure is.
He's running for president, and in one of his speeches, he talked about how Mexico is sending over rapists and drug dealers.
Oh wait, but I can only assume that some of them are decent people.
And he says,
that was the best political speech ever.
I'm really rich.
He said, China, I can handle China. Hey, it's like, I just saw some Chinese people in the building. Then he says, Obama, he paid $5,000 for it. He paid $5 million for a website. I got a website done for $30. Dude, that was the best speech any politician has ever given in the history of this country. I had that speech on replay for like 2 hours, just sitting in my office listening. It was, I mean, you couldn't write this stuff because people would say, that is so stupid that I would get fired for suggesting that you. When he said, the Chinese, I can handle the Chinese. I just saw some Chinese people building. He literally said that. He literally said that. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? And then what he said about Mexicans, he's like, oh, they're rapists and criminals. They're not sending us their best. Who thinks to say this stuff?
They're not sending us their best.
Did you see the replies he did when he had to buckle down and stick to his statement?
That was the reprise, that they're not sending us our best.
Yeah,
that was
said,
after they confronted him and was like, is that
said,
really what you meant? And he's like, well, they're not sending us their best.
And then he said, someone's doing the raping.
Yeah.
Someone's doing the raping.
It's so great.
And that is why the hashtag #TrumpleStillskin is trending.
Yeah.
We couldn't. Let me just say this, and before you get upset, just hear me out. We couldn't do better as a country than to have him as a president, because it would be constant hilarity, newsfeed, quotes, decisions. I mean, seriously, just consider it before you guys decide to vote for somebody else. Just think about that.
Well, actually, I would love for him to run. I'd love for him to become the Republican nominee. I would love that. My dream election would be Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders. That would be great. Just like watching Ali versus, I don't know. I don't even know who Ali versus. It would just be
the little girl in the park.
Yeah, it would just be Ali versus Trump. It would be the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trump is, well, he's a millionaire's millionaire, definitely. Or he's a billionaire's billionaire, I should say, right?
Yeah. Does he have the money now to be?
He does. He has the money. Yes, he does.
I feel like he's just bleeding millions of dollars a day.
Yeah. And like he said, he's real self-made. And if by self-made you mean when you were born you got a $35 million birth bonus. And inherit your father's real estate empire, because Fred Trump was a real estate guy before Donald was born, and so but he's self-made,
Did you guys see what Jon Stewart said?
No.
Jon Stewart from The Daily Show. He said, "Donald Trump, I want to sincerely thank you for making the last 6 weeks of my career the best 6 weeks ever."
Because don't give him red meat, man.
No, you want to talk about shark repellent?
Yeah. Right.
What is he doing next?
Jon Stewart?
Yeah, has he said yet? No.
He's probably taking some time off.
What do you think about the new guy coming in?
Oh, Noah.
Yeah, because it's almost like. He had some press when they first announced him, and then I haven't heard anything.
Who's the new guy? I don't remember.
Prepping him.
Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah. It's a South African.
I didn't find. I listened to his stand-up a couple times. Wasn't that impressed, but people think he's funny, so.
I actually thought Samantha Bee was really funny too.
That's what I wanted to see. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, but. I guess
before we go way too far off topic,
yes.
I wanted to read some of the tweets between Donald and Danny. So Donald says, I've been warning about China since the early 80s. No one wanted to listen. Now our country is in real trouble. Danny Zucker says, you've always been tough on China, sir, particularly the children who make your shitty clothes. and he took a picture of his shirt, and it says Made in China on it, and it says Donald Trump signature collection.
Yep. I think
he fires back.
With a lot of others, right?
Yeah. Donald fires back, Danny, you're a total loser. Danny fires back. Your insults need work. Here's one I've been working on. Every picture you post of yourself is a dick pic. See? That was my favorite one. And then it just goes back and forth, back and forth. So Donald Trump is trying to go toe-to-toe with a professional comedy writer on one of the funniest TV shows in the history of television.
It's like Bill O'Reilly trying to have Jon Stewart on his show and think he's going to get over on him.
Yeah.
Or get a word in.
Yeah. And he keeps doing it too for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah, like he thinks he's gonna be. It's the craziest thing. You go, this dude kicks your butt every single time. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because I lean a little bit to the left that I think Jon Stewart's winning. So let me watch this and not be biased. And Jon Stewart is blowing this dude out of the water, and he keeps bringing him back. Remember the debate? Remember the debate that they had?
Yeah.
Oh.
Where he had like the elevator stand.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice. Yeah.
And the thing is, John didn't even need to be funny to kick his ass. He could just use the facts.
Right.
And he's just like, I'm just gonna tell you what's up. And he wasn't even trying to like actually make it about jokes. He's just saying, Bill, you don't make sense. You know. Yeah. And but yeah, unfortunately, Donald's probably not going to be the nominee. But it would be kind of fun if he were. But it's probably, my guess is because the Bushes have a way of attracting a lot of money, no matter what. And
it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Can you believe that Jed is even? I mean, like, come on. Like, how is this guy even in the running? I don't. It's like, what world are we living in? Like, how is this guy?
There's no one else.
You know what it is everyone knows the name, that family has a lot of power, and then the Bushes are throwing their hands up and they're saying, at least it's not the retard.
Right.
Okay, but this is coming from a party that, you know, prides themselves on how we escaped from a monarchy, and here we're electing 3 Bushes in a row practically. Like, what? I just don't. It doesn't even make any sense to me.
Well, when you're talking about the Republican Party, that's the problem, because they now basically only have 3 demographics they can pull from. It's like either it's the religious right, you know, the whole, you know, we can't have gay people getting married party, or it's the billionaires, the Donald Trump Club. You know, we don't tax the rich, and then there's just like the Confederate flag peeps in the back of the car or the bus.
I don't want to talk about that.
The America guys.
Yeah.
Well, but the reality is this: like we all tend to say, okay, well, we are Democrats or we're Republican, depending on where you grew up or what you believe or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, neither groups are for us. These are rich people who are for rich people, who go and have dinner with other rich people, and none of them do anything with our interest in mind. They do things that are good for them. So it's the Hegelian dialectic where they show you this and say, hey, look at these guys, we're like this, and they're really the same thing. Republicans and Democrats are the same thing.
There's one candidate I would say is the exception in this election cycle, and that's the only problem is I don't think he's going to get enough cameras, and that's Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders is actually that guy who doesn't want any Goldman Sachs money. He doesn't want any Exxon money. He doesn't want any corporate money. But he just, unfortunately, he's not going to get TV.
Yeah, because of that. Yeah, because of that, he won't get cameras.
But he's the best guy, except he can't get the airtime because he won't suck the dick of the corporate elite. You know. So then, what do you do now? If the one good guy is there, he's on the board, but he doesn't have enough money. So then the question is, would we give him enough money to go head to head with the guys who?
And the answer is no.
Kickstarter. It's on Kickstarter. We get this bitch done.
Bernie Sanders Kickstarter.
Can you imagine if he got funded by Kickstarter and just raised
how has that not been done yet as like a political stunt?
$100 million or something.
Oh no, Kickstarter. Kickstarter doesn't allow. It has to be pre-approved, right?
Yeah.
But you can do Indiegogo, right?
Well, check this out. You guys want to hear something that's crazy? I think it's GoFundMe. So the kid who came and shot those people up in the church.
Oh God, I saw that.
His sister did a GoFundMe like 2 weeks, a week later. I'm like, and people gave her money.
I thought that wasn't true. The Snoops thing. There was a Snoops thing on that. Like,
it might not be. I just know I was reading it on.
Yeah, it came out like they raised $30 million or something like that for his
that's not what I. No. What I saw, she had like under 3,000 at the time. That was 2 days ago.
That's what I saw.
Or
Yeah,
on that same tangent, Creflo Dollar got his jet.
That $36 million jet or something like that?
No, 62 million, and he needed it.
He needed it. He had to
62
transport
million.
himself. Yeah,
62
private
million.
jet.
There you go, Jack.
It's a private jet. Yeah.
Well,
The,
you know,
the other one broke down. Yeah. It was.
You know, my favorite was when the guy says, he's like holding a church service, and he's like, I need new helicopter blades. Yes, you do. Like, this is what his request was: new helicopter blades. Dude, you own a helicopter and you have to replace the blades. Like,
wow.
Who runs out of helicopter blades? All these blades are dulls. We need new ones.
Can he just go to Dollar Shave Club? DollarShaveClub.com.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
I'll be here all
So good.
Yes.
I want to go back to one of the tweets that this is so funny to me. So Donald goes on to talk about Modern Family not being a good show. Danny Zucker says, doesn't like the show I work on, but then we never really tested well with racist, hypocritical, multiple bankruptcy demographic.
Body bag. This dude is killing Donald Trump, and he's not smart enough to shut up. This dude embarrassed him.
He doesn't have a team, or does he have just a bunch of yes men?
It's him. He's the one who's writing this stuff.
He strikes me as the guy who is writing that and is furious that this guy is on Twitter, so he's got to say something. He's riding in the back of his stretch limo, and he's like, "Oh, I got something funny to say to this guy."
Yeah. Because when you're in the billionaire bubble, you lose track of like what's actually possible in the world because you know
daughter. Nobody's not like, yo, dad, shut up.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, that's when the show goes unchecked. You know, it's like you think the money can buy you everything, including a sense of humor, including the love of people. You know, that's and unfortunately that's when you go to an election cycle, you encounter real people like this, especially in social media. It's going to be like from now on, it's going to be a whole new world going into election cycles because you're going to have to survive the Twitter cage matches as well as everything else before the election. Like, we're a whole year out from the election, right?
Yeah.
Plus, a year plus.
So I hate that you just said that. Oh, gosh.
Let's brainstorm about the future. At what point are we going to realize, or is this even ever going to happen, where we're running in a government set up a few hundred years ago, with antiquated views. We got one guy, and the whole electoral college thing. When are we gonna be? What needs to take place for us to be like, okay, enough of the shit?
Well, I think the biggest thing that has to happen is awareness. It's not going to happen overnight, of course, but we still, like, if I throw a rock at most people I know and say, what's the name of your congressperson? They wouldn't be able to tell me. You know, or better yet, give me the name of your congressperson and both of your senators. You know, like I can tell you, my congressperson is Karen Bass of the 37th District of California, and my senators are Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer. You know?
Now you're just showing off. It's like he knew the answer, so he asked the question.
So I asked the question.
I was reading something like that where the average person
That's
doesn't
why
know.
when I'm thirsty, I drink water.
Yeah.
That's why I read Black Science. You know.
Can you mail me a copy of that, please? Thank you.
Actually, I love this comic, by the way. It's dope. But anyway, but I think the experiment that is American democracy is supposed to be messy. I think the only way it works though is if everybody's in, because if if my interests are best explained by me talking to the person who's my representative, but then I don't talk to them, and then Exxon comes in and says, well, you know, forget him. I got something I want you to do, and I don't care if it's his world. Here's some lobby money for your next campaign. Here you go. And James doesn't care because he's checked out. well, then Exxon gets to tell my senators what to do, and they don't hear from me, so they think I'm okay with it. But if they heard, go ahead. Go. What were you saying?
Keep going. No. I thought you were done, James. Keep talking. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like, since most people don't talk to the people who represent them, they have no choice but then to talk to the people that will talk to them. So then, I don't know if you ever watch what do you call it, House of Cards.
Yeah, I do. Love the show. Love the show.
Yeah, so like I've only seen the first season so far, but I've got to binge watch the rest. But the guy who plays the lobbyist from the oil company, the brother. Yes. I love the way he is portrayed, because when he walks into the room, senators stop what they're doing and they're like, "Oh yeah, what is whatever, Sandcorp, I think is the name of the oil company." And when he speaks, it's like the voice of God came into the room, because they can put so much money into their campaigns, and that's what they're listening to. So this is why I like Bernie Sanders, because he said, look, the first thing we got to do is reform the way campaigns are funded, so that you can't just dump $1 billion into a senator's campaign and buy him, because as long as you can buy somebody, then they'll never represent the people who they're actually supposed to represent. They'll always represent the highest bidder. So if you take the bidding, go ahead, I'm done.
None of those things will ever change unless we have a major catastrophe, and I mean like a volcano erupting and splitting the country in half. Now, here's why I say that. The system is set up so that we put people in jail, and then we say, okay, you're incarcerated, but we're supposed to rehabilitate you. When we let them out and say they're rehabilitated, they can't vote. So they don't have a voice, right? Or if you're poor and you live in a certain district, they find a way to take your votes away. If you're old, they find a way to take your votes away so that they get the votes that they want. And so you're fighting against a machine that's geared to tear your vote away so that your opinion isn't given, so that what it is they want to do, they can do legally. There is nothing we can do. If we, think about this. Remember the outcry about the 1%ers and everybody was out like, oh, yeah, and they're chanting. What happened from that? Nothing. Because the people who are in charge manipulated the masses once again. They threw us President Obama and we're like, hey, this is good. What really changed? What really changed?
You're talking about Occupy Wall Street?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the problem I had with Occupy, I love the fact that they were actually bringing a little bit more light to the fact that, yes, big donors do run the show. The problem is, I thought that there was no legislation that was a follow-up, 63, 64, 65, all the way to 68. There were big marches to make sure that there is actual civil rights legislation implemented. So there weren't brothers just marching in Selma or in Birmingham or in Washington. It was actual legislations following up, like they were running tandem, so that Dr. King could go to LBJ and say, you need to sign this legislation, Mr. President. It wasn't loud and making noise. We have a bill, and this bill needs to be voted on. And those cats were very educated about the legislative process. They weren't just making noise in the street. They were making noise in the form of legislation. And I think that's the problem we have to, yes, there are going to be people who try to disenfranchise our vote. And I say I'd rather go down fighting and voting. Back in New York, we always have a thing that says, if you're passing by an alley and you see 3 dudes beating up this other dude, and the dude is not fighting back, keep walking. But if you see 3 dudes fighting the dude and the dude is fighting back, jump in and help him out, because then it'll be 3-on-2. But if that guy doesn't have any fight in him, it's still going to be 3-on-1 when you jump in. It's just going to be 3 on you instead. But
the key word to what you said was education, and so for the first time we have access to so much education, but people are so undereducated, and so that's another big problem. We have people who believe because they have internet outrage that they are educated about an idea, but they haven't done any work. They don't know any truth. And so when they're actually faced with how to solve the problem, 1, the problem might not even exist. 2, you don't have any tools or you don't know how to fix or address the problem. So 3, you end up sitting back on your hands and you made everybody numb to the problem because they heard you doing all of this rah, 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 and there was no solution. And that's what we're dealing with in society right now. Every week there's some type of outrage. Sometimes it's actually worth being outraged about. Not often, but sometimes. But then there's no follow-up. And you know why there's no follow-up? That's because people haven't been properly educated. So when we look, for example, if you go to the news, you go to any news website, you'll see all of these quote-unquote issues of equality. But there really aren't issues of equality. It's issues of hysteria. It's issues of pretending that there are problems that don't exist, and it just sells, and it gets people uproar and upset and mad. Or these fake, like, race bait conversations that people have. The goal is not to solve a problem, it's to create hysteria. It's to create a problem so that people spend time watching the news, so that people spend time arguing and debating so they can make more money. But notice this. You don't see any of these news stations saying, hey, let's have a summit. Let's bring in some people. Let's talk about how we can solve this problem. Now, that's the common sense thing to do. It's what Dr. King did. It's what every leader would ever do. You say, look, okay, so we have a problem. Right now we have a problem with the police. Let's sit down with people who are in charge with the police and say, what can we do to improve? And here's what we'd like you to do to improve. No one is thought to have that conversation.
But don't they have those type of things when like the president said he's going to put together a council, or they put together these councils and people get appointed to these?
Why haven't we seen it? Why haven't we seen it? Why isn't that broadcast live?
That's all lip service right there.
Right,
well, you know, like,
let me give you a couple of examples of how this can work, and then I'll explain why it doesn't work here. A couple places that it has worked has been in China and in Egypt. More notably, Egypt. Egypt had this uproar, and people were tweeting. And through Twitter, basically the regime that was overseeing Egypt was overthrown, and then it got to the point where America was going to come in and help, and the Egyptians were like, no, we got this.
That was
you can stay at home. We got this.
Yeah.
So then that's happening, and then in China, I want to say it was in the Hong Kong area where the Chinese government started squashing all of the social networks and stuff because they don't want their people educated in the views of democracy. I know this because I was helping. I lived next to Silicon Valley, and I was building social networking software for them, but then they put the kibosh on all that stuff because they saw what Twitter can do. They saw what Facebook can do. So now everything goes through the Chinese government.
Well, they had an uproar over in Hong Kong stuff, and they shut that down.
Yeah, they did.
They were doing protests for about a month, and then finally.
And you know how people were spreading the word through social media. So now what's happening is, okay, so there's that. Now the whole education thing, I kind of agree, but I kind of don't agree. The education thing, look at how easy it would be for someone to learn Photoshop, Maya, After Effects. The education is there. Look at YouTube. You can learn whatever you want to learn online. Now the question is it what people are so wrapped up in paying their own bills and stuff that they can't, like, I'm busy learning After Effects. I don't want to learn about law.
That's a really good point about there's a certain amount of comfort and sort of well-being that you have to reach a certain threshold where you can actually be politically active in talking to your reps. I mean, if you don't know whether you're going to be able to make the rent or put food on your table,
you're not caring in the office.
Your brain isn't, hey, I got to write a letter to my senator. You know what I mean?
Now the machine,
your senator is not helping
that's squashing all of this. The machine that's squashing all of this. When I was a kid, we had Schoolhouse Rock, and I learned this is a bill. I am only a bill, and I'm sitting here. For as silly as that cartoon was, it taught me.
It was awesome.
how a bill becomes law. And then he got his little badge, and he's throwing his little, he's doing his little dance and stuff.
That's how I memorized the preamble to the Constitution, was through Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. And that's how I know a conjunction junction. What's your function? So the thing is, back in the day where people actually had more of a say, or people actually had pride in having an educated society, that's where all of that, that's how it would look.
Yeah, and Thomas Jefferson famously said, an educated populace is necessary for democracy to continue. If you don't have a certain threshold of people knowing a certain amount of information, then it's hard for them to participate in a democracy. But if you're keeping them uneducated through all these different means, like, for example, if you're keeping a lot of your voting public in prisons, for example, or if you're keeping a lot of your if you're making textbooks in Texas completely erroneous, for example, about the origins of your democracy, you're getting ready to get a whole voting population that's undereducated.
The discriminatory voter ID laws and all the other stuff that comes up. Yeah.
But speaking of education, I think our Thanksgiving tables are like one of the places where I'm a big fan of like each one teach one, and I'm like, I know there are a lot of people who are undereducated or underinformed, I should say, but every one of us is related to at least one of them. Everybody's got one person in your family who's kind of like that guy who doesn't know that much but thinks they know something,
Oh, Lord.
And everybody's thinking about
Just one.
But a lot of times I think we get at the dinner tables with them and we don't want to actually try to help educate or inform them because we're like, nah, he's not going to listen, or, it's not worth it. But, like, maybe if all of us actually did try to inform the people that we can touch, like if each person grabs one and informs that person, then we double our numbers overnight.
Right.
Yep.
But that means you have to be willing to sit at the dinner table, or, maybe people are like, oh, don't talk about that at Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. Let's just talk about, Kanye and Kim. And then, or whatever.
Right. Because if you look at things, right when you start getting real serious, actually do this. This is a homework assignment for everyone listening. Whenever something really outrageous, whenever Kim shows her booty to the internet, turn it on C-SPAN and see what's happening.
So it's like, in other words, when everybody's watching Kim on the beach, then
it's a sleight of hand.
It's like you got their attention. So now that you got their attention, turn it to, hey, speaking of Kim's booty, did you see that thing that happened about Trans-Pacific Partnership?
Right. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. There was something that happened just a few months ago. I don't remember what it was, but something happened in social media was all a buzz, and I turned it to C-SPAN, and they were actually voting on the net neutrality on C-SPAN, and it was the vote that turned it against the actual against helping the normal person.
Right. Oh, so, and that was when you turned. Was that vote was happening?
Right.
Oh.
I mean, it was literally right when it happened.
Right.
I'm like, what is going on? I was going nuts a little bit.
Yeah, the thing is, like, most of our peer group, like, we are probably in the minority of people who's even aware that net neutrality is an issue that we need to be aware of, right?
Right.
Or, pick an issue that we're probably on the know, but we know most of the Catholics we know may not know as much about the issue as we do, or why should I care kind of thing. I think there's a lot of why should I care going around,
Right. Well, for example, the whole what is it? The flag thing, the flag issue. The
there's Confederate flag and gay marriage, and if you turn on C-SPAN, they're voting on Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Right.
So there was that. They snuck that through real classy like.
Yeah. If I could go back in time, I go back in time to, like, speaking of news stations and what they do or don't cover with big mainstream corporate media. I go back to '96 when another thing that got snuck by was the Telecommunications Deregulation Act.
Oh.
Right.
And that allowed all the little mom and pop news stations to be bought up by
by the big
Comcast.
Now Clear Channel and everything.
Exactly. If we had stopped that then, you wouldn't have Fox controlling the amount of the airwaves, or Fox or Clear Channel as it does today. That one little bill in '96 paved the way for a lot of the problems we got now in terms of people not getting the information they should, because there used to be at least a couple more independent sources in every city that just wanted to give you the news, and they didn't even have to operate at a profit, because back then the news stations didn't need to make beaucoup dollars. It was like the Lois Lane, Clark Kent, Peter Parker kind of thing.
That's why PBS NewsHour is amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Bill Moyers, man, I miss him, but yes.
Yeah, well,
so real quick, what's the Trans-Pacific Partnership? Sorry, Charlie, we can go back to your question, but
before
we go too far, I'll let Jack finish up on TPP. Go ahead.
Well, it's just kind of like an open trade agreement, mainly with Europe. But you know, it's pretty controversial. I mean, it depends on your views of trade, or kind of like what NAFTA did with, you know, south of the border. It's pretty much. I mean, most people who are against it view it as just like jobs bleeding from the U.S. But you know, the big businessmen love it because it's open business. It's the free market in action. You know, working with our partners and our allies in Europe. But
Donald Trump
Asia too, no?
I'm not, what's that?
And Asia, no?
I don't think it's so much had too much to do with Asia. It was pretty much specifically European Union, but I could be mistaken. There might be a lot of Asian stuff in there.
Here are some of there's some Asian countries, but Brunei, that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Really small.
Chile,
in fact, it's
Singapore,
mainly
New Zealand.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, it's mainly Asian countries, not European. I'm mistaken.
Yeah, but the same way NAFTA was more Central America and South America, right?
Right.
But one of the weird things is, like, whoever's in charge, the president or whomever, they can do a lot of these deals without telling the public.
At all.
They can do a bunch of this stuff secretly.
Mm-hmm. And in many cases, it's not really secretly, other than it's just people aren't
listening.
People aren't tuned to C-SPAN.
Yeah, listening. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more TMZ watched than C-SPAN.
Yeah.
I used to always say, if people took as much interest in America as they did in American Idol, we then could have the ear of a lot of our reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that would mean, you know, going back to Confederate flag thing, for example, then, like, if people actually, and I know there are tons of good people living in the Confederate States. I know a lot of them, you know, so I'm not going to say, like, everybody who's living in those areas.
I have one good Confederate friend.
Some of my best friends are Confederates.
Some of my best
friends are Confederates.
But you think, in how long has it been, like, that these senators have been in office, that nobody's written them and say, hey, maybe we should take that flag down from the Capitol building?
Yeah.
So just to get that talk going, why does it matter?
Why does it matter that we? You mean for the flag thing, or for the?
Because in North.
For the flag, yeah. Why ban the flag? I mean, they're pulling Dukes of Hazzard off the air.
I didn't know it was still on the air.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, like on terminal yesterday.
To clarify, nobody is like. There's no law that can ban the sale of the Confederate flag. They're just talking about taxpayer-funded buildings.
Right. Well, you should be flying a different one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if it's the people's money, why? You know, we defeated Germany in World War II, so I don't think there's any German that said, yeah, let's still fly the Nazi flag anyway, just to celebrate our heritage. You know, in a municipal.
A lot of good men and women died.
Right. You know, so I think the idea is, if it's we the people, then any flag flown on a building that's owned by we the people should be the flag of the actual country we live in, not the country that tried to go to war with that country back in the day.
Country.
Yeah.
Especially when that war was kind of all about owning people who look like me. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or just owning people again. Just owning people in general.
Or just owning anybody for that matter.
Because there's a lot of countries out there that are still owning people, not necessarily just blacks or whatever. There's look at all of the slave labor stuff that's happening in I was gonna say China, but I don't want to. I want to say Donald Trump's neighborhood.
It's a lot of slave labor in Donald Trump's thing.
Well, I'm sure he got a few people locked up in his building, and you know.
Yeah, he probably does.
Fluffers from somewhere. But yeah, I would think the whole, like, getting back to the whole free trade thing. I don't believe that suppressing other people's economies is a good example of what free trade should be. I think everybody who works is owed a standard of living that is not, demeaning to that person. So I'm not in favor of any sweatshops existing anywhere in any country and saying, hey, we should go to this country and take advantage of their sweatshops. It would be like other countries back in the day when Africans could be slaves here and saying, hey, let's send more labor to the United States because they got slaves. Get those Africans to do this stuff. We shouldn't have slavery anywhere, period, even if it's in Beijing.
Any form, yeah.
But it's what keeps the costs down.
But here's the wonderful thing. Here's the wonderful thing about if you pay people a living wage. It's like I pay Jack a living wage. That means he's got extra money in his pocket to go buy cupcakes because you own a bakery. But if Jack doesn't,
you're just talking trickle down economics.
Well, that's the thing.
Like shut it down. Stop it. Doesn't work.
As a matter of fact, I believe in the exact opposite. Is put money in everybody's pocket, and what do we do when we get a raise? We spend it, right? And when we spend it, it goes into other pockets. So I'm going to go to the movies and buy some more popcorn, and that guy's going to pay his rent, and then he's going to go get some beer, and the guy who works at the grocery store is going to make his rent. And when you give Donald Trump a $50,000 raise, he's just putting that on the same pile of billions and billions and billions of that. He doesn't put his money back into he'll put it in China maybe.
It's like,
but it's not that much. Cause...
No, you remember DuckTales?
Yeah.
And he had the tower full of coins.
He used to swim in it? Yeah.
Oh, like
is
that Scrooge?
Yeah, you give Trump $50 million and he just pours it into his tower.
Goes and
swims in it.
Does a backstroke, does a dive like it's nothing. I used to be so jealous.
Yeah.
Coins.
That would hurt so bad.
It would hurt, right? But you don't think about that when you're a kid.
No.
It's great.
Even the cat who just has no idea what he wants to do in life, if you give him a $5,000 raise tomorrow, he's going to go to a strip club and make it rain, right? And as he makes it rain, like there's 10 girls going home who are going to go to the grocery store because he made it rain tonight,
But here's the problem with that. Let me play devil's advocate.
Oh, sure.
When we say if we give this guy $5,000, where does the $5,000 come from? Are we giving it to him as a stipend? Does he earn it? Is it a raise? And if it is from a job that he has, where does that money come from? So the idea of if we give people more money, they'll spend more money. The problem with that is where does this more money come from?
Oh, okay. So I definitely didn't mean give it to him like a gift. I was just using $5,000 just so I could put like $5,000 in Trump's hand and $5,000 in.
Gotcha. No, I mean, even if we let's take it to the job market. So you give a guy a raise where is the money coming from that we give the raise?
Let's say we raise minimum wage to, I'm just going to say 18 an hour just for the sake of, So, of course, now I have to pay my minimum wage guys here, pick whatever, janitorial, whatever. Granted, yes, I have to restructure my business plan to account for their salary in my business plan. So clearly, if it means I can only afford 3 whatever, or do my prices go up? It's the business owner's job to make it work within your plan.
Maybe.
Right, but so then here we have a brand new problem. We have a brand new problem, and that scenario alone is, so if you're the owner and you have 5 people working, and they raise it from $8 an hour to say $15 an hour, you realize I can no longer afford. Good job, Jack. I can no longer afford the 5 people working, so I have to drop down to 2 or drop down to 3. Well, now you have 2 people who are unemployed, right? Now, I mean hypothetically speaking.
And that's only if you really can't afford to keep them on. Some employers, they can afford it, but what they don't like is the fact that it's going to cut into their profit margin, which is
right. That's right.
Really quick. So it's like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to get that private jet I wanted, and I'm going to drop employees because of it. Versus, am I really going to go under? Because I think a lot of CEOs cry poverty when they're not going.
No, you're right. You're right. But here's the problem. That's what's going to happen. So what do we do when that happens? Because CEOs are not going to give away their wealth. That's how they got wealthy in the first place, right? They're a miser. They're really smart. So if you put this plan in play, the problem with that is they're going to lay people off because they're not just going to give their money away. They're going to make these guys work harder. They're going to try to get more out of them. They're going to take more benefits away because they're going to try to maximize to continue to bring in. So now you have more people who will be unemployed, hypothetically speaking, not saying for sure, in this situation, right? Because, whoever this Donald Trump, let's make Donald Trump the boss, okay? Donald Trump isn't going to say, oh, yeah, I'm just going to bow down to this new rule. There's a saying among the rich. If you took their wealth away, if you took the 1% and you took their wealth away and gave it to everybody else, they're so much smarter than everybody else. Within one generation, they would figure out a way to get the money coming back to them, right?
I've heard that. I actually disagree with that view, but one thing the rich are good at is lobbying so that the laws benefit big franchises over small mom-and-pop businesses. I think what's missing from the equation there is you, me, and all of us being entrepreneurs on a smaller level, and us hiring more people in our startups.
Well, now that's a different conversation. That's true.
I think there should be more of us in this picture.
I agree with you 100%, but we have to deal with the fact that you and I agree on that 100%. But the reality is that isn't the world we live in. So now what do we do with the world we live in where we don't have, like, people don't grow up saying they want to be entrepreneurs. They grow up and say, I want a job, right? That's like 90% of the people in the world, in our country, they want a job. So we have to talk about the rules for the 90%. So how do the 90% function in a society where if we raise the minimum wage, the rich will reply and say, okay, you're going to make me pay more, or what I'll do is hire less people and make the poor people work even harder.
It's a terrible situation, and I don't think you drop a pill in the water and the solution affects the entire glass of water simultaneously. Unfortunately, I think it's a generational thing. I think everybody should learn what being an entrepreneur could be in grade school. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be educated only how do you get a job pulling a lever. You should be able, by the time you're out of high school, if you wanted to start your own business, you should, by the end of 12th grade, have enough knowledge in your head that if I wanted to start a small business, I could. Or at the very least.
Now let's
go back
to the whole money thing.
Because we have to produce slaves. We have an entire economy that's based on people going. Our entire country. As a matter of fact, we started out from slavery, and so now we have a modernized slavery where people are being, for lack of a better term, educated / brainwashed to go into the factories to continue to produce wealth for this country. So the idea of entrepreneurship destroys everything we know in this country. It literally would ruin the fabric of this country. So no one's going to ever let that happen.
I agree. Actually, I think I completely agree that there's a contingent that would never want that to happen. I don't think it would ruin the fabric of the country any more than the abolition of plantation slavery ruined the country. It didn't ruin the country, but it did cause a rift between those who thought that this is the only way our economy can be strong and those who disagreed with them. And yes, there was some rocky transition.
Here's why I use the word ruin, though. You're right, but here's why I use the word ruin. Because let's say that there were 20,000 slave owners who were making millions off of slaves, right? Well, the problem now is we have more than, I want to say 30 million people who are quote-unquote slave owners, which would, if you say we're going to get rid of the corporations as we know it today, you would have to then tear those corporations down, and you have 30 million people who are going to resist. That's why I say it would tear the country. It would tear us apart.
And I wouldn't advocate tearing the corporations down. I would just advocate some common sense laws that say, hey, you know what, Walmart, you can't go in, to every single community and completely destroy every mom and pop shop in every town that you go into, because Walmart has a wonderful track record for doing that.
Well, what about free trade? Are we stopping that? Are we going to tell people that?
Well, I think there is free trade, and then there is trade that favors the large transnational corporations. True free trade would allow you to start your business without having to worry that the bigger chains would buy out the favors so that your license gets denied because they want that. How McDonald's does with their, I want that corner, and then they immediately say, okay, we're going to cock block the other corners because this is a McDonald's intersection now. And even if you apply for something, like McDonald's has a silent cock block on that corner, you can't even put a thing there. I think that's just wrong.
To clarify this whole corporation thing, the corporations of today are a bastardization of what they were when they first were created.
Right.
When a corporation back in the day, when corporations were first created, They were meant to, you show up, you do a job, the corporation dissolves. That's it. Nowadays, a corporation has more power than humans for the simple fact that a corporation never dies. Yeah. So that being said, how can you have an economy built off of spending money when no one has money? Of course, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So what do you do? So what do you do? More people for this idea for capitalism to work, people need money.
Sure.
So the theory behind it is, I start a bakery because James said it before. I start a bakery, and I'm working, and Tyrus has a job. Tyrus stops by before work. He buys a bagel or whatever the hell. He goes off. Now I got a little bit of money. Eventually, Tyrus and Jack, and then we're going, and then I'm making enough money that I can hire Charlie. Now Charlie's making money, so then Charlie can go out and, you know, Tyrus has a bike shop over, and you know, Charlie rides his bike to work, so he needs a tune-up. Now he has the money to go to Tyrus's shop. Now Tyrus is making money, therefore he can then come back to my bakery. That's how it works. But
initially, the free part of that economy, that when people say the term free economy or free market, initially, and I totally agree with what you're saying, that hypothetical, the free is that, hey, if Carlos makes his cupcakes and they're not really good, and then I open up a rival cupcake shop across the street, and my cupcakes are kick-ass, I have the right to compete with him to see who gets more of the customers, and if it turns out that, or you know, my cupcakes suck and his cupcakes are awesome, I might go out of business because people don't like my cupcakes, and that's okay, you know.
Right. And that's how it works, and those are the rules.
Right.
But it's stacked up to where Walmart is a shitty company. They have shitty products. The only thing they have over everything, over everyone, is pricing. And that's because they have so much leverage.
Yeah.
So they take the free out of everything.
Yeah. It's bully. So, it's a bully market, not free market with them.
Right.
I mean,
and then what happens is, a corporation these days, like back in the day, a corporation was supposed to be focused on a job to do. Nowadays, corporations are focused on a profit to make. So in an economy where it's based off of how much money people are spending, you need jobs, obviously. Those jobs are now overseas because they work for a lot cheaper. So now you don't have many people working, so you don't have many people with money. So of course you're going to crash. Of course your market is going to crash because the basic fundamental is gone. People need money to spend. If people don't have money to spend, your whole thing goes to shit.
And basically, you just described demand-side economics as opposed to supply-side, right? And actually, there's a great, speaking of animation, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Story of Stuff. It's a great website.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Have you seen the one about Citizens United, Supreme Court decision? Yeah, so that one does a great job of doing what Carlos basically so eloquently noted, that initially corporations had an expiration date. And not only that, I mean, even in the 40s, 50s, 60s, there was sort of an unspoken vibe that if you're going into business, yes, you should be wanting to make a profit, but you should also want to make your community richer by your presence. There was like a dual responsibility, but now the transnational, you know. Go ahead, Jack.
You're becoming transnational, multinational, so you're effectively removing yourself from laws of the country in which you were founded, because you exist in many countries, or none at all for that matter. Like, you're hiding your money here and there, and you effectively don't even exist in countries that you're doing mega million business in.
Yeah, you only exist in the Caymans, or, you know, that kind of thing. And you know, and it also removes you from having to give a shit about anybody in any place, in any neighborhood, what happens to the buildings, and what happens to the lives of the employees. And, you know, it used to be that if you ran a factory, you knew the guys who worked there, and you knew the neighborhoods they lived in. So you had a vested interest in everything being okay. and everybody goes home with some money at the end of the day, including the owner. But back in the 50s, the disparity between what the owners made of a company and the workers was maybe, this distance, and now it's like, 300 times that level of disparity between CEOs and the workers.
For example, and I don't know if I've shared this on the show or not, but I remember my mom retired from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois a few years ago, and I remember she was working her ass off, and they gave her a 2% raise. Cost of living goes up by at least 8% a year. Wow. So you're digging yourself out of a hole, number one. Number two, the CEO of the company ended up getting a $6 or $10 million bonus.
Wow.
We're not talking salary. We're talking bonus.
That's just money.
That's vacation money.
Yeah.
Right.
Money.
So that's where the idea when in scenarios like that where they're saying, well, we couldn't cover the extra salary to pay people a living wage. But if you're getting that much in bonuses, like if you're Exxon or Mobil or whatever, and you're making any kind of poverty argument, that goes out the window the moment you pay yourself $1 billion bonus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So, I think the bigs can afford to actually pay living wages. If you're just a startup and you're just getting your cupcakes going, you might only need one employee. That's good for now until your demand increases so much that you have to hire somebody. But if your demand is increasing that much, you're going to be making enough money to hire the second baker.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories is when this whole socialized medicine or Affordable Care Act, Health Care Act came out. One of the big fighters against it was the guy from Papa John's Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Oh, I can't afford this. I'm going to lay all these people off." And then the the next month, I think it was Super Bowl month or whatever, like he's on TV talking about, I'm giving away 1 million pizzas.
Yeah, you ain't getting money. You get
Right.
If you would have kept that, $10 to $100 million, however much, $10 to $20 million, you probably could have at least afforded a couple of people to help roll out the dough.
Right, just a few,
Yeah.
But and of course, a lot of times when people are working, I am a big fan of airline pilots, and I think they should be paid enough to live on. And it's actually sad that a lot of airline pilots don't get paid enough. There are a lot of airline pilots who have to still go on public assistance in addition to their salary. And personally, I like the idea of a guy flying my plane to not have to be like, oh, I got to work 3 jobs this week and I haven't had enough sleep. I want my airline pilot to be comfortable.
Right.
If I knew that and I meant I paid a few bucks extra for my airline ticket, I would gladly do it because I want to land.
You want to live?
You already took away the pretzels.
Yeah. What's next?
And for the record, there's no such thing as emergency water landing. That's a crash.
What was the guy who did the hero who landed
in the Hudson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't he do that?
Yeah, that was a water landing.
The white
That was a water landing, yeah.
He just skimmed it and boom, yeah. Didn't break up like normal planes do.
He parallel parked that bitch between 2 cars. He's like, we got this.
Yeah.
I think he testified saying they need to get paid more. I think that's what his.
He's using a platform. He's a smart man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so sorry, I didn't realize. Wow, we got into economics quite a bit.
That's how we do. That's how
that's
people
why
gotta learn.
Well, they gotta learn. It goes back to education, right? So if somebody learned something tonight, based off the
Sketch Zone is the new Schoolhouse Rock.
They go back and listen.
Yeah, I agree. We need Schoolhouse Rock back, I think.
Dude, that can be a Kickstarter. Who owns the rights to that? That'll get
right?
funded real quick. Or will it get funded based on
Is it ABC?
PBS.
PBS.
One of the presidential candidates just said they were going to cut funding to PBS completely.
He should lose all credibility right there.
Let me guess. That's not Trump?
I don't know exactly who it was. It might have been Trump.
Well, they would all say it because just
they all say it.
Yeah,
They always say this is always something on the table.
Like, I haven't tried to cut
it always
PBS,
is.
Yeah.
Overturn Roe v. Wade, you know,
Yeah.
and now they'll say overturn this most recent marriage equality. They, you
Well,
know,
what was the
marijuana
senator?
thing.
What was not senator? What was the governor that just passed? Like, I can't remember where it was at. I just read he passed really strict laws to
Brownback of Kansas.
Yeah, like good job, Kansas. Like,
yeah,
basically, I don't
basically,
know how you can do that, or well, it's that whole process, right?
well, all these Republican governors are passing basically like nah laws that are just basically to appease their base, to say, listen, I don't support that federal Supreme Court decision, so we're going to pass this law to show them that I don't really respect them, but they can't really enforce it.
I think that's what most people don't realize is how much, like, at your local level in terms of government that goes unchecked, those type of things. Because I was reading a bunch of stuff the other day, and we might have to get into it another time, but about how, like, there's like nonprofit corporations, or you can call them corporations, but they call themselves nonprofits. Places like ALEC or like the American Legislative Exchange Council that like basically has retreats and meetings with lobbyists and legislators, and like the lobbyists will pay a fee to go to like a resort, right? Meet with other lobbyists and legislators, senators and local state legislators, and they have bills. ALEC as a nonprofit promotes bills that they then literally hand over to the legislators to say, yo, we need you to pass this bill. And then based on the funding that those lobbyists and stuff give to this nonprofit, they then bring in all these different state legislators. So they get like a free vacation, if you will. And they're literally talking, making laws, if you will, or bills so that they can be made into laws. Now, there's been a couple people, you know, that I've seen that like called people out when they had the bills. Like the bills are like word for word, you know, from this ALEC corporation or whatever you want to call it, this council exchange. But like this is like some of the things that people don't hear about. I mean,
I agree.
Some of the things like the Jon Stewarts and the John Olivers and stuff like that. Those shows are good because they make them funny, but they try to educate some people.
They make them palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. They make it sort of dinner table-y so you can actually feel you can relate to it. And by the way, that ALEC, that's the group that actually put forth the stand your ground laws that a lot of the states, which is what allowed Zimmerman to shoot Trayvon Martin and get out. You know,
they also passed the SB 1070 immigration bills and stuff like that too. They're the one who formulated it. It's written word for word from this place also. Yeah.
So that's like definitely the stuff that like if we, I think at our dinner tables, our Thanksgiving tables, if we then do that whole each one teach one thing and get more people up to speed, because I don't think we're at the point where we can allow any one TV show to do it for us. You know?
But then it starts like you said before, like bring us back full circle. It just starts with educating. Who is your state legislator? You know, and if more people knew who that was, maybe they would, when they ran, they'd have somebody they'd run against, and they wouldn't just keep getting put in office, because a lot of times they don't have anybody to run against them.
That's true.
They just keep going back into office. They can do crazy things all year, and nobody runs.
Like if any of you guys ran for an office, I would vote for you. Right? Just from this conversation, I have enough faith in all of y'all. I would vote for any of you for a congressman if you ran.
Vote for me, and I'll start white slavery. That's my slogan right there.
No,
vote for me is a vote for white slavery.
The thoughts expressed by Tyrus Gaucher. Tyrus Gaucher and Tyrus Gaucher only.
If you're doing a commercial for this episode, that's the thing you got to lead with.
Carlos, you can be my Cuban running mate, dude. Like, Mexicans involved, you can tell them how you're gonna just let them in, and you don't care if they're rapists and murderers.
Yeah, that's my platform. At least I'm not a rapist.
Jack can be
somebody's doing the raping.
Yeah, Jack can be the campaign manager and write all the speeches. He's the real brains. He's the real brains behind the situation.
You want to know who's doing the raping?
Somebody's doing the raping.
You want to know who's doing the raping? The white slaves.
Oh. That's why they need to be controlled. So bad.
Yeah, we're never gonna be on iTunes much longer.
It's because of you. You just send us down there, and everybody's like, "Yeah, let's go down this road."
Yeah. Well, we're up past 2 hours.
Oh man, look at that.
So, how about we end the show with some artistic speak? Does anyone have any questions for James, wise? Because if we get into politics, it's going to take another hour at least. James, we can have you come back on, and we can do like a second show.
Yeah, are you kidding?
Let's have James wrap it up with some really good advice, some lasting advice.
Oh, advice. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
For fellow creators.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
Seeking the spark.
Words of wisdom. Yeah.
Well, one thing I definitely from my years of trying to create things, if you're making a team, if you're putting teams together, and a lot of times with different projects you got to put teams together. I always say run with the people who you see who have a similar love for what you do. If you have to drag people out of bed to do anything, most likely you're going to keep dragging them every day. I look for people who are more excited than I am, and I say, hey, man, you're excited, let's hang out. It's the birds of a feather thing. And I avoid naysayers like the plague. If all you're telling me is constantly that that's a really great idea, but nobody will ever go for it, then I don't want to hang out with you. I want crazy people to hang with who think anything is possible. I want the Tarantino mentality of let's just do a thing about a slave revenge movie. It'll be awesome. He's the only guy who can say that to the Weinsteins, and they're like, okay, And if more of us just said, hey, it could be possible, and don't be worrying about failure, don't be worrying about what if I'm not good enough. I don't know if you've ever read the book The War of Art, but it's I'm always plugging it, and it's a great read. Stephen Pressfield is the author, and he talks about this idea of resistance. Resistance is that sort of law of nature that just basically every time you want to do something, it gives you 10 million reasons why it can't be done, so you never start. You got to overcome resistance. And the hardest part of a plane getting off the ground is that first couple of minutes where you got to break gravity. And the hardest part of getting anything done as an artist is that beginning where you're like, I don't know, can I really do this? Is this a good idea? If you can get past that and get some altitude and just realize, okay, well, we're already doing it. I don't care. We're just doing it. Whether it sucks in the end, whether it's great in the end, who cares? I'm doing it. And I think more of us just need to do that. Just get a thing done so you can say, I made a thing. And you might learn a lot. So the biggest wisdom I always take is that old, there's an old parable about the pottery teacher who split his class in half. So one half of the class, he said, your entire assignment for the semester is, I want you guys to collaborate and make the perfect vase. So you're all going to have to put your heads together and come up with what's the perfect vase. And then the other half of the class, he said, your assignment for the semester is make as many vases as you can. So what ends up happening is the one half of the class that had to make the perfect one, they argued and argued and argued and bickered and never came to an agreement about what the perfect vase would look like. And by the end of the semester, they had made nothing, and they failed. Yep. The other half of the class, they started making everything, and some vases were great, some vases were okay, but every time they made one and got it done, they learned a lot, and they applied what they learned to the next vase, and then they learned something from that and applied to the next. And some they threw out, but they were making so many that it didn't even matter. The couple of failures they had, they're like, whatever, make another one. And by the end of the semester, they had billions of beautiful vases, and they learned way more about making perfection than if they had tried to make perfection. So I say, forget perfection. Just move forward, period, and make stuff. And some of it's going to suck, but enjoy that too.
He just TED talked us. That was awesome.
Yeah, you really did. You really did. That was good. So there, make stuff.
Is TED Talk like Rick rolled? You just got TED.
Just got TED.
Hashtag TED Talk.
Hey, so listen, James, we need you to immediately, when you get done with this, go get rid of 5 people who don't deserve to be on your page. Make room for us +1. Somebody who's listening. The first listener who sees that spot open and applies, you get in. That's what you did when you came on our show. If you rode with us and you're listening now, just hover around. Right now it's stuck at 5,000. Shortly, it should be 4,955. All right? That's 5 spots. We're only taking up 3, dude.
Yeah, we're gonna have it by the time.
That means there's two spots waiting for some sucker. I mean, the lucky listener.
Sometime tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I accepted a couple of friend requests that really is just a picture of a pretty girl with no identity.
We've all done that. We've all done that. No one holds you accountable here.
It's a judge-free zone.
Yeah, I'm gonna clean house tonight. I'm cleaning house tonight. Of all the
Judge-free zone.
Awesome.
All right, so James, if people are looking for you online, where would they be able to find you?
Yeah, well, I've become a lot more active on Twitter as of late, but my Twitter handle is @PlasterOfParis. You know, younger cats don't even know what Plaster of Paris used to be. You know, for those of you who ever made paper mache, you know, but it's Plaster of Paris with 2 R's in Paris, and Facebook. I'm just my name, James Parris, on Facebook. But of course, as you said, I got to clean house so I can make more room. What's up with that 5,000 limit anyway? That's stupid. Why does it have to be capped at 5,000?
To hold you back. That's why.
Bam! I bet you get more.
Yeah, that's the man's boot on my neck right there.
That's right. Yep.
Johnny Depp has more than 5,000.
That's it. Try to hold you down.
Kim Kardashian has more than 5,000 people on her Facebook.
See?
Does she?
I bet you Kim Kardashian's had more than 5,000 people. Oh!
Shut up, hashtag Ray J.
Hashtag I hit it first.
Ray J. Hashtag Ray J. Hashtag mic drop.
Man, that song was amazing.
You know what's funny? That back in the day, they would say, "Oh, who's that girl who was in the sex tape with Ray J?" And now they're like, "Who's that guy who was in the sex tape with Kim Kardashian?"
That's crazy. That is true.
No, that is true. It makes them angry.
Hashtag flip that script.
Yeah, she flipped it.
And they'd be like, "Well, wasn't he just Brandy's little brother?" They think it's really pissed.
You know what though? Here's a funny thing about that. Everybody's like, "Oh, how could you marry Kim Kardashian when you saw on a sex tape?" Yeah, but your baby mama was sleeping with dudes who worked at McDonald's. So
I happen to believe that maybe this might not be a popular opinion, but we are all products of our prior experience. Yes, so you know, that whole idea of like what's it? You know, talking about like terrorist bombers who are expecting like 72 virgins if they blow themselves up. Why would I want 72?
Yeah, you'd have to teach 72 classes. Like, that's terrible.
I would rather have one Kim than 72.
Can I trade these in for a Kardashian, please? Thank you. Come on, dude. Are you kidding me? What am I going to do with 72 virgins? A whole lot of whining and, oh, gosh. Who's paying for these sheets? Oh.
I thought we were going to get away with not.
Yes. Hashtag virginity is overrated.
We almost got out of that conversation.
We're going to get some emails from iTunes.
We're totally, yes. Thank you.
It's not even going to have any words. It's just going to be a video of someone tapping their fingers on their desk. Like
exactly.
We almost got out of the show. We almost got
good, but we went so highbrow. It's good for us to bring it back down.
Yeah, keep it real. Keep it well-rounded.
What it is, it's a sleight of hand. We're getting all
That's
education.
Right.
We hit them with the Kardashian.
That's what you do. Hit them with the 72.
You're doing 72 virgins. Are you kidding me? 72 virgins. That's a punishment. That's not. Just stop for a second and think about that. Really? First of all, look.
Wouldn't it be their
72 women, let alone 72 virgins? But anyway, hey, listen. Can I get my applause? I did not attack Charlie at all night.
You did it in
Jack,
the first
no, that wasn't an attack. Shut your mouth. Hey, Jack, there we go.
I'm not coming.
Next week, Charlie.
Hey, on a related note, there was a comedian that was talking about the 72 virgins thing. He goes, 72 virgins? Fuck that. I'll blow myself up for 3 hookers with a suppressed gag reflex.
And by the way, yeah, the fine print doesn't say that those 72 virgins had to be like hot women. It could just be geeks from your science.
It's worse. This is terrible.
Exactly.
Oh, what if it's 72 hairy women in the face?
You show up with 72 dudes that are really bad at Call of Duty.
What if these 72 virgins had beards that could rival mine? I mean, like,
yeah, that's why they're virgins.
That's why they're virgins, right?
This doesn't sound like that good of a deal. I think we can call ISIS and bring them on the show and just say, look, bro, I know what they told you, but let's think this through.
I think that's like maybe a form of punishment instead.
Maybe this is how we can dissuade ISIS soldiers.
I'm saying we might be onto something in this podcast. It started off as a podcast. It itself destroyed ISIS.
Kim Kardashian versus ISIS. Round 1.
Mm-hmm. Show them that tape and be like, okay, this is not a virgin, and then put in a virgin picture. Be like, this is one. Do you want 72 of those?
72 Kardashians.
Oh,
do it for your country, Kim. Do it for your country.
Well, now, who would want 72 Kardashians? Listen, that's too much. Goodness gracious.
Look at Bruce Jenner had one.
And look what happened to him, right?
I'm close to 72 of them.
Oh, gosh, this is terrible. What is going on right now? What are we doing? I thought we were ending the show, Carlos.
Charlie B. Williams III.
Yes.
If people want to yell at you on the internet.
My branding on the show is slowly changing. If you're trying to get in contact with me, you can find me on Twitter at CBW3 or go to my website. It's cargocollective.com/Charlie B. Williams.
Yay!
And Jack Kasperzak, where can people find you?
I am at sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack on all the handled social friend network.
You say handled like they're controlled. Handled social networks.
They are handled.
Okay, here we go.
Did you finish?
Yeah, let's hear the
Sorry.
finale here.
Here we go.
Tyrus Gaucher, where can people find you?
With hoes, a bunch of hoes, no virgins.
2 of them.
That's all I got to say. I ain't got no Twitter handle, no website, nothing. 72 virgins. What are you gonna do with 72 virgins? Are you kidding me?
We should have led with the 72 virgins. That would have been.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
And Carlos, where can people find you?
I don't know. Is Tyrus really? You're done? For
I'm
real?
done. I'm done. Dead sure. You kidding me? Still trying to get over this.
And I think I'm Carlos Gomez.
Threw Carlos off.
Oh, so completely off.
72 virgins.
You can find me and my work at carlosrgomez.com. Twitter, Facebook,
You can do it, Carlos.
Instagram. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
You gotta hurry up before I start again, Carlos. I'm getting fired up over here.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Look for Coconut Justice. This has been, I think we're still doing Sketch Zone, the podcast. You can visit sketch.zone, submit your artwork, and if you win, you get to come be a part of this hot ghetto mess. And if you lose, well, then you win. This is so head over to sketch.zone and check it out over there. You can also find us on Twitter, on Facebook, On Twitter is @SketchZone. Facebook is facebook.com/thesketchzone.
Tell them about YouTube.
We're on SoundCloud. What'd you say, Charlie?
Tell them about YouTube.
Yeah, can I get through my list first?
No, you're taking too long.
Yeah, you don't get new content. We're also on SoundCloud. You can find us on Stitcher. And you can find us on YouTube.
Where?
YouTube.com/SketchZonePodcast. Yeah, son. So go ahead and do that. If your feelings have been hurt this week, sorry. So head on over to sketch.zone. Submit your artwork, and if you make it on the podcast, then you can tell us all about it.
Yeah.
We're here to listen. Until then, Carlos, Coconut Justice is out. Have a good week.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.